Call the regular meeting open, and please rise to the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome our guests here and those watching on cable this evening. First order of business is we have minutes of February 12th, 2015. Mr. O'Leary.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the February 12th, 2015 regular session minutes as written.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, second by Mr.
Voting.
Odie.
It's okay. It's been a while. He hasn't been here in a month, so.
Where did Jeff go?
I think he thought the meeting was over. No, I'm just kidding. Actually.
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And
I abstain. I was absent.
you abstain.
So
Okay, we
it's
still have
3
one
in
abstention.
favor, none opposed,
And one.
one abstention.
What MIA?
And one absent. That was,
We also have minutes of our executive session of February 12th. Mr. O'Leary.
okay, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the February 12th executive session minutes as written.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, second by Mr. Fode. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention. One absent. We have the Recreation Department here for, is this brief?
Very brief.
Okay.
Yep. You ready?
Yes.
Maria's just going to tap you out a couple things, and I'm just going to show you a new project that we've worked on that Michael has asked us just to come and give you a couple minutes and present to you. I know you all know me, but I'm Lynn Clemens, Recreation Director, Maria Brown, Programmer. And we initiated a new program in town called the North Reading Welcomes Program. These are the tote bags that we have purchased for the program, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. We started out a little selfishly, looking for a way to market our programs to new families in town. We were feeling that we weren't reaching the families that hadn't yet discovered that they should order the transcript or, go through the schools or whatever, so we decided to look for a way to reach out to those people. And our thoughts were, back in the good old days, they had welcome wagons, and those don't exist anymore. So we went out and we researched a couple different towns. We found that Linfield had a Linfield Welcomes program that's run by one resident in town. And it's just a binder that she I don't want to say just, it's a folder with coupons and so on that she delivers by herself. She runs it completely by herself. That being said, we knew we'd have to work with local realtors in order to get the listings of new residents. So we met with every realtor in town that was interested in meeting with us, which I think we had, how many? 7 real estate agencies came in with us. They loved the idea, they sponsored it, they paid for all the tote bags. We went out and found a local printer and had the tote bags made and put ribbons on that just said that they sponsored it, the realtors. And once a month, they sent Maria a listing of every new resident in town. We went from there, we contacted any local businesses that have supported us recently through sponsorships, through advertising, because we pay for our brochures now, through advertising. We get lots of advertisers in the brochures, and we get sponsors for all of our special events. So we went to them first, offered them an opportunity to put something in the bag to go to every home, and then we reached out through the transcript. We put press releases in every week offering for any business that was interested to throw something in there. So what we did from there is we did a couple things in there. We have the North Reading Welcomes little flyer that I whipped up right there that kind of is designed to tell people about our local little community and the things that I find that I'm proud of in the community and the special things that we do annually every year that I think a new family would be interested in finding out about. And then we have 23, we also did 23 businesses have either coupons or giveaways in the bag. They did anything, like the transcript, that are giving us a new transcript every month. They have a coupon for 3 months of the 3 subscription, we get all kinds of giveaways. You know, hair salons put in hair products and coupons. Everyone had to give something away. It wasn't just for flyers or advertisements. So every single person gets a bag full of 23 items from different local businesses. All had to be from North Reading in the bag. We also have, Maria, do you have the list of stuff that you handed out? We also went to local organizations such as North Reading Historical Society, the Halipark State Forest Society, the Flint Memorial Library. We threw in the local telephone book. We went to the Community Impact Team and put in their the Community Impact Team Crisis and Resource Guide, which really covered everything except for the few things I threw in that little welcome pamphlet. And that's what we have in there, once a month. 2 employees go out together, they wear the t-shirts so that people know who they are and they're established before they get to the door. We send them out in 2s for safety reasons. We're not going out this last month because of snow reasons, but we'll start it back up. We have a list. We delivered to 40 homes in January before the snow all hit. And now we have, Maria, do you know how many more homes we have? We have another 25 homes that have sold since January. So the sales are really, which is nice, there's a lot of new sales in town. And so far, you know, not necessarily, most people are not necessarily home during the day. We probably, out of the 40 people, maybe hit 7, 8 families that were home, that they were able to introduce themselves to.
The people that we did see, that we did find at the door, and we did hand, they were very appreciative.
Yep, and I've heard from a few people that were not home that have contacted me and said that they got the bags and how great they were. My business card is on the front so they know who it came from, as well as the information in the brochure. So it's something we're really excited about. We hope it promotes our recreation department as well as anyone else that wants to put anything in there. We're open to, the only thing we have not opened it to is, you know, religious organizations, because we felt like then it's the town supporting a religious organization, but the list of all the churches are in the Community Impact Team guide. But we've opened it up. If the leagues want to throw anything in there with coupons, or any of the organizations, and certainly any business. So it's growing. The first 40 were delivered, and since then we probably had 5 or 6 more businesses call us and drop things off, and so they'll go into the next round. We had our senior volunteers sort all the bags. So we had one day that we sorted enough to do a whole year, except for the additions that'll have to get thrown in now. So they're ready to go once a month. And anyone that committed to it had to commit to sponsoring it for at least 1 year, and then we'll up it again the next year, so.
Very good, congratulations.
Thank you.
Nice.
I really applaud you for this. This is
Thank
fantastic.
you, I'm really
idea.
excited about it.
It really
I
is.
think it's really fun.
I just had a couple questions. Is Hillview Country Club, were they asked, or are they not interested, or?
I didn't ask them, I
No.
wasn't sure. I didn't ask them.
Just
We certainly should.
curious.
Like I said,
That would be nice.
We tried to reach everyone that we could
Yeah.
think of to reach, and then we put it in the paper every week, hoping that people reached us, because it's kind of hard to contact every single person, but it's a work in progress. We'll
Yeah.
certainly be
Yeah.
adding
It's
people.
great.
Also restaurants, that I
Um,
want to try to get more restaurants and, you know, add more coupons. There's a few businesses that I haven't gone
Yeah.
to yet.
That's great.
Right.
And the only other suggestion I'd like to make is, if there's any way you can get any information about our code red in here, from new people coming into town, probably don't have any idea about how.
Good idea.
You know, and I just think this is such a
Is that
great,
the IT book?
I don't know.
you know, I think it is, but if you,
Put it on there.
I don't know
Simple.
how they're gonna,
be
you know,
happy to
really
do
dig
that.
through that book in the
Yeah.
beginning. I'm not, maybe they will. It's just a suggestion. You don't have to,
No, I'd
but
be happy to take it.
I would love to be able to give the new people in town opportunity to get some kind of communication.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, that's a
it'd be
good point, because the code red still comes in with a foreign number.
Correct.
Right.
Until you put it into your address book on your phone at home, that it's code red, it's really a foreign number.
Right, okay.
It's not a 978.
Yeah, if anybody has any suggestions that you want to send our way, we're open to it. Like we said, we're
Fantastic.
open to any new businesses
I just think
sending
this
it
is,
in.
I can't
We're
give you
excited about it.
enough
We let the police department know we were doing it, so they were aware we're walking to doors, so that if anyone called the police and said, who are these people coming up with
Who
tote
would call the
bags?
police on you?
I got called.
Oh, I have the
once
list.
by handing out a
I got
couple
the list.
brochures in my neighborhood, so I'm pretty sure. So I gotta be a little safe on that. I thought I was kind of clean cut looking, but apparently not, so.
I think it's just a fantastic idea.
Thank you.
Congratulations for
We're
your
excited, you know,
efforts.
I really do love this community. I think we have a lot to offer. I think people that are new in town, even as far as we go, know about our weekly barbecues and you know, the Martin's Pond festivals and all
That's
those
great.
things that go on every year. They get this brochure, they know it from the day they move in, and I think they'll start to participate a lot more and get more involved in the community. So I think it'll be a fun thing to bring out to people. So, and there's plenty of room left in the tote for new stuff.
Did the town clerk put her stuff in there too for
The
people to
town
register?
clerk has asked us, but she did not put anything together yet. She said she was gonna put something together on
great.
dog licensing and stuff like that.
That's great.
So she did ask us about it, so, you know, like I said, anyone that asks us, the only ones we kinda held back on is, doing religious affiliations, but we certainly have them listed in our outline of, or political, we won't put in political flyers either, but other than that, we figured, it's open game for pretty much everything else.
And
so.
are you gonna make these things available for sale at barbecues and things
Well,
like
you
that?
know, everyone's asked us
Yeah.
that, but we'd have to think that through, because the realtors paid for those, they sponsored those. So if we were to do that, we would have to invest in them for ourselves to sell, because Maria wore them out just to talk to businesses and got stopped everywhere asking for these totes, so.
Right.
They were a cool idea. We liked the idea of it looking like an old
Yep.
writing zip code, and it has North Reading Welcome's really small, not really small, but small enough down the bottom that really what you see is the zip code, so it makes it still kind of cool to carry without advertising so much, so,
Great job.
okay?
Yeah,
really
Great
good
job.
Thank you,
Love it.
thanks for listening.
Thanks for coming.
Next item on our agenda is we have a, albeit a little late, public hearing on RMLD Verizon Plan 1934, located 41 Central Street. Do we have a representative from RMLD and Verizon, or just RMLD? Okay. Mr. O'Leary.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the petition of Reading Municipal Light Department and Verizon New England, Inc. to locate one new pole on Central Street as shown in Plan Number 1934, dated October 14th, 2014.
Second.
I think you have to read the public
Is
hearing.
there a hearing?
Oh,
Excuse
public
me, I
hearing. no.
apologize. Let's see if I got that here.
Yeah, it's in the packet. I can read it for you if you don't have it. I got it right here.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Beautiful.
Okay. Petition for a joint or identical pole location. Maybe I have it right here. I do have it, I believe.
It's the page
I
before.
do have it. It was attached. Jane did a very good job. Thank you, Jane. Notice having been given, the board, public hearing held, public hearing, no, that's not it either. Okay, right. In accordance with Chapter 166, Section 22 of the Massachusetts General Laws, a public hearing will be held by the Board of Selectmen at North Reading Town Hall, Room 14, 235 North Street, on Monday, February 23rd, 2015, at 7:10 PM, on the joint petition of Verizon New England, Inc. and Reading Municipal Light Department for a new pole to be located on Central Street as described on Reading Municipal Light Department Plan Number 1934, dated October 14, 2014.
Sir, name and address?
My name is Vaughn Bryan, engineer, Reading Municipal Light Department, 230 Ash Street, Reading, Mass. Here for a petition to locate a new pole, 37-1 Central Street, approximately 221 feet southwesterly from the existing pole, streetlight pole, 2, and approximately 51 feet northeasterly from the Central Street center line on the south side of Tamarack Road.
It looks to me like from the drawing, we have you moving the pole closer to the corner, is that correct?
What it is to set the new stub pole to, there's a pole on Central Street, which is across the street from Tamarack Road. There's a line that feeds down Caroline Road. That line is pulling that pole over. So the intention is to set a stub pole on the other side of Central Street at the intersection of Tamarack to hold that pole up.
Mr. Chairman?
I got some maps here if anybody is interested.
think we have it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The old one's across the street.
Yeah.
That I don't see.
So this map's printed off of Google Maps of the area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, can you just point out on the
Yeah.
map to us, the old and the new? Yeah,
So
So
the
the-
map isn't right.
I believe that on the corner, Caroline and Central is the old pole, right?
That's the existing pole, that pole is gonna stay.
It's
Yeah.
gonna stay.
Right, the new
Oh,
pole
it's
is,
staying.
right,
That's
right.
Yeah,
the
it's
new
the-
pole is gonna go across the way you see that
Across the
street light
street from
pole.
it. Right here, the street light is.
What's shown here, that's,
Yeah, so it's the existing, and that's the new one. You actually roll up. So there's the existing one right here,
oh, okay.
and that's the new one.
That's not what it says here.
No.
All right. The information we had, has, one of the notes is incorrect. Got it. Mr. Yule?
Yes, I have a few questions for you. And I didn't understand why, if the pole is actually being placed on Tamarack Road, is it being requested to be on Central Street? You have
The pole is
51.
actually on, it's gonna be placed on Central Street, but it's at the intersection of Tamarack Road.
Close
The-
to the corner.
Okay, then it's closer to the corner. So then
Yeah.
then that brings me to the next question. Why does it
No.
have to be so close to the road? My concern is having the view blocked by drivers when they come to a stop sign. Central Street's a very busy street,
Yeah.
Right.
okay? And I don't see a stop sign. There's probably a stop sign on the other side. I have to assume there is. I don't see one here. But if they come up to the stop sign, the placement of the new pole appears to be right in their side of vision, and that would be a problem, all right? My perspective, based on the schematics that I've seen, that pole should be along Tamarack, into Tamarack more than what it is, because it's going to block the view.
Yeah, the pole is gonna be probably, it's gonna be on a Central Street pole, but more towards the Tamarack Road, so as not to block the view. And
Well-
also, part of it was has to deal with the angle of the line going down Caroline Road. Kind of have to match that angle, so we can pull the tension back. So that's why the pole kind of ended up, like it's looking like on Tamarack Road. If you look at the
Yeah.
Google viewprint, the pole is gonna be like about 8 feet from where that street light is,
8
Eight
feet in
which
front
way?
of.
8 feet
going
towards
towards
Central.
Central Street.
Yeah, so that's where I have the big concern. It would appear to me that, I don't know if we have an ordinance that addresses this, but it would appear to me that when you come to a stop sign, that pole needs to be behind you, not in your sight of
Right.
vision.
No, I
Okay.
totally understand that.
Oh, and so, that's my big issue right there, so.
Mr. Fode,
So looking at the packet that you had submitted, it also said that street light is gonna be removed?
That's correct. The thing was that not to have a stub pole and a street light pole right next to each other.
So the light will go on the new
Exactly.
utility pole?
Right.
Okay.
That's correct. So that's why I put in a petition to remove the street light pole.
Mhm.
Okay, gotcha,
And
thank you.
any other board member before we have a gentleman here?
Actually, one more thing, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. So going back to what Selectman Yule said then, would it not make sense to put the utility pole where the street light pole is? So this way not to interfere with the sight of view?
We had to bring it a little bit further towards Central Street because we also have to anchor that pole. Now, the pole that we're trying to relieve the tension off is an underground pole,
Mhm.
and all those lines run underground right there. So we're trying also to stay out of the conduits because you also have the telephone and cable and electric lines running right there.
Okay, thank you.
Underground.
So are you looking to have wires cross Central Street now?
You're
That-
gonna have we're gonna have a guy wire going across Central Street,
Yeah.
along with a street light wire to run the new street light, because we're removing that street light pole.
No. But- No, there's gonna be overhead wire,
Yes.
which is not existing now,
That's correct,
over Central Street.
that's correct.
And now, the pole that has some tension on it or needs to be straightened out
Yep,
is on Caroline.
it's on Central
Yeah,
Street.
it's on Central.
But it's the pole that
It's
feeds
this one here.
Caroline.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it, yes.
So is it this one here, this
That's correct, yeah,
little cockeyed one right here?
yeah.
Yeah. So, but in order to bring that true,
Right,
you're going to have to put a guide wire from that across Central Street to
That's
the new
right.
pole that you're putting in.
yep,
And then a feed for the light also.
And the feed for the light also, because the current feed is
Is-
underground.
that's correct.
As far as the sense of urgency for this and need, I personally don't like wires crossing streets. You know, I don't like creating more wires crossing. I'd like to see everything buried personally, but what we're doing now is we're being requested to have a wire cross Central Street, which isn't currently there.
Currently currently that pole is tied up to a tree across the other side of Central Street right now, just to relieve the tension off of
Yeah,
it.
you can see it.
I see the
Yeah, I
cable.
see that.
Sorry. There's no other solution? I mean, what we're doing is we're trying to relieve the tension on the
Yeah.
pole that's on Central Street at the corner of Caroline.
All right.
There's no other-
There's no real resolution, because that pole also has the underground for the telephone and electric that feeds the Tamarack Road. That's the main feed for Tamarack Road right there.
That one pole.
That pole right there, yeah.
Tamarack is a new road, it's got underground.
Right. I think this gentleman wants to say something.
I have no problem with lights, needless to say.
Name it.
Paul Ashman, Winterberry Lane. First off, what I've got in the mail is different than what you're basically saying. It doesn't, you do not address in anything that you sent me, what's on Central Street side, which, that's fine. We have two poles out there right now, right, you know,
Right,
these
yep,
one here,
yep.
and the one that's way down further, 200 feet away.
Yep,
Okay, all that is all underground,
that's
right? And they're gonna stay underground, right?
That's correct.
Okay. My issue is, it's not an issue, it's really maybe a point of discussion, because I don't know that the placement of the poles, exactly where they're gonna be. Today, they're on a sidewalk, correct?
that's correct.
All right, actually, it's, I'm looking at liability issues is what I'm doing because I own the property all the way from Central Street, all the way up Tamarack, and all the way around.
Okay.
Okay, and this is a corner right here. I'm showing it to him because it's just, he can respond better to me. This is Tamarack, this is the pole that's there, this is the pole that's there, this is Central Street. You're talking about a pole over here, right?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. The issue that I have here is this area here. I don't know what the distance is, what's owned by you and what's owned by me. On my papers, I own that whole sidewalk, and you have your pole on it, and that's all grass that I mow and grass. Yeah, your poles are both on that, right?
Yep.
I need to know, and then from there, there's a sidewalk that's there, and then after that, I own the woods that's over here. My question to you is this your property or my property?
You'd have to ask the town. It'd be the
It's a town right away from the middle of the road in, I think it's 11 feet
11 feet
from the
From the center of the.
from the center of the road.
to the sidewalk?
Is the right of
It's more
way.
than 11.
Is it? I can't remember what the,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's, what's the standard right of way off the middle of the road? I think it's actually shown on the drawing.
Yeah,
You're coming in on 61 feet from the middle,
Right.
Something, isn't it?
but actually it doesn't show it from the middle of Tamarack to where the new pole's going. So I'm not sure on your location where he's gonna put his pole, but there is a town right of way.
do you guys have, for where the poles are, on the
From
sidewalk?
the middle of the road towards the sidewalk.
Yeah, and I don't know where that is. I mean, I don't know, I haven't taken the measures from the end of the sidewalk,
Jim.
which I'd like to do.
Just so you know, we have a letter in here from the town engineer,
Yeah.
who did say that, he had no objections to this request, so I assume that he must have went out and did some measurements.
Yeah, I know, but I can't go by
They're
Zoom.
in the right of way. Right. The sidewalks are in the right of way, or in the town's right of way,
Mhm.
so, all the sidewalks.
Yeah, but I don't know, that's, okay. I'm not having a problem with it, I just want to be sure of what is mine, what isn't mine, what the liabilities are. You know, I take care of that, all around that, that whole area, right,
That's
at
what
my
we're
own
talking
cost, you know, clean all
I
of
know,
that.
but
Somebody
still same
falls,
letter.
gets tripped over, I just want to
Vote
make sure that
both.
there's liabilities in this. that could happen. So I don't know what the footages are.
Right.
And what the town owns, and what town doesn't.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Yule?
Yeah. Did you say the current light pole, which is what, on Tamarack, did you say that's on the sidewalk, as in the middle of the sidewalk?
Well, it's not in the middle.
Or is it in the grass area?
It's a grass strip.
So it's not on the sidewalk, it's on the
Yeah,
curb,
there's a
it's on the
sidewalk
curb
next to it,
side.
then there's woods next to
Right,
it.
so there's enough space between the pole
Yeah.
and your property for people to walk by, they don't have to
Well, I
walk
don't
around.
know if with the pole, if that's on my property, I mean, they have the right of way to do it, but if that's my property,
Mr.
the
Gilberto
the
can
pipe
show
is on,
you.
that's okay.
I can show you the map that we question. So here's a sidewalk right here, right on the town right away. You can see here, that's what we're talking about. Your property is
Yeah, right.
southerly of that. So this board cannot give permission to put a pole on your property. It'll only be within the right of way of the town's right of way for Tamarack Road.
Here, actually,
Sure.
that's what I have here, but what I don't have on this is this distance. Because if I took the middle of this, the road from here,
On my street.
see, here's the drawing, I can see what you showed now.
On Park Street.
Okay, this is Tamarack, so here's the pole, here's the middle of the street. I don't know what the footage is, the
I know.
footage they're talking about is to here, or the grass side where the two poles are,
But mine's
the
a-
sidewalk, and to the wood. That's mine, but I don't
It's
care
after
that.
Concrete
I
Street, so
don't know
it's
that.
not-
We don't
it's
have
not
the
the same
advantage of having
as
the
Park
width
Street.
of the right of way on the map. But I can tell
Going
you,
towards
this board will not be
Winter,
giving
you
permission
know,
for our
If it was his property, we'd have to ask for permission with an easement.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not opposed to doing that.
Okay.
I just don't want something happen, run
Yeah,
into the
no,
pole
yes.
or.
Yeah.
It's a good
You know, I
question.
want to CYA,
Right. But again, based on the outline here, the sidewalk is not on your property. There's a grass, you can actually see the pole. It's on the
No,
grass.
you can't go by. Well, I don't know if that's accurate with this is accurate. This is GPS, that's accurate. I'm not saying, I don't know that's definitely not accurate.
Right. So the disadvantage is we don't show the sidewalk marked out.
Yeah, I just want to know what the differences are there, where the sidewalk is and then where the grass,
Sorry.
the grass part, where the poles are
Is
gonna
the
be.
concern that the current street light is on your property?
They both are, yeah, there's
The
two
current
of
street
them.
light is on your property?
Yes,
No,
they're
no,
on that grass area that's on the sidewalk.
But that was laid out through a subdivision plan.
Yeah.
Okay, it was laid out through a subdivision plan
Town right away.
with current conditions at the time, and the utilities would have been put in the right-of-way, not on private property.
Even though you're-
Otherwise, the town would not have accepted it, it wouldn't have been approved through the planning commission.
All I'm saying, I'd like to
Yeah.
just, I don't have those numbers, I'd like to, the town has them.
The planning commission would have
If they
the
can-
layout.
planning
the
commission
planning-
could give
The
me the
planning commission
breakout.
would have a layout of this subdivision when it was built, absolutely.
Yeah, it's only that 200 feet that they're looking for.
Right.
And with the drawings that I have from them, they're putting, what I'm showing here is two brand-new ones on Tamarack.
No. Those are existing ones.
No, it is, no, that's a new pole.
Yes.
That's the only one you're talking about.
Right. These two ones are existing streetlight poles.
So this one's staying, right?
No, we're not touching this one.
All right, that's on that staying.
Right.
So you're only talking about this. The other thing too, are you moving this in any, or are you staying out here? Because there might be something for you here I gotta tell you about.
No, I was looking to stay right in
Right
parallel
on.
with the streetlight pole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think there's an issue over here, a drainage issue that the town has on the very end of that, in this area. So you might want, if you're gonna put something over, you may want to see.
Well,
if it's
I had
strong
a dig
enough.
saved, and I had the
Go
town look at it, and they marked on everything.
utility, yeah.
And when we're gonna go set the new pole, we'll have it re-dig saved again. To make sure that there's nothing else there.
So that's all I'm looking for, is what the breakout is, so what's, if they're on my property, that's okay, at least I know that. If that's legal for them to do that, I'm just watching the liability issues on all of this, and until I know exactly what it is, I
Right.
can't say yes or no to this. So,
Well, again, I go back to the point, again, the picture that I'm looking at, and even that picture really kind of tells me that the pole is really on Tamarack that they're putting in, not Central. They're giving, 61 feet from Central as the placement of the pole, but that looks like it puts it onto Tamarack, and I think you alluded to that earlier. If that's the case, then it depends on what the measurement from the center of the road to the end of the right-of-way, which is what would determine where the sidewalk is,
right.
okay? So it seems that, to me, Tamarack plays a bigger role here than Central Street. in deciding where that pole is going to be
This
placed.
is this gentleman's lot line right here,
Right.
okay? Here's the pole.
Yeah, let me just
Yeah.
show you,
So they're
give
not
a
in
sense of what.
They're fine. No, I
you wanna
understand
see.
that.
That's the way it lays out, not out of scale, but you can see, center of the road, I don't know what that is. I would have measured it.
I mean, mine is 24 feet on Park Street.
In grass, then.
Right.
And that's how
I can see that in this picture.
Yeah, I haven't seen that picture.
Usually,
If
the
you look-
right-of-way is on the, goes beyond, a little bit beyond the sidewalk.
If you look at the
Yeah,
maps
just
that
wanna
they
know.
provided, this is your lot right here. This is your lot here. This is the lot line here in the right-of-way.
What-
This line, this line,
That line is?
okay? This line right here is your lot line, okay? This is, so the right-of-way comes to this line here. This is where the existing pole is. This is the proposed pole. This is all, from here over is all in the right-of-way.
From here.
From this line right here.
That's not a line, that's it.
This is a property line.
That was the property line.
Right, excuse me, I'm sorry, you're right.
That's
You're right.
That's not a.
Right here. The poles
That's
are
not a
in,
property line.
you're right, I'm sorry. This one here, this is the property line, right here.
Okay, I'll make it easy for you.
Yep, this is the lot line, right here. And here's where the poles are in the right-of-way.
Well, first off, if the pole's there, he's in the middle
No,
of the street.
that's existing. No, no,
If you
I'm
put-
sorry, that's the proposed one, this is the existing.
Right.
If you're gonna go by accuracy on that, I got that too. That's in the middle of the street. That's the street. The sidewalk is right here.
No.
Okay, I lived there 20 years.
All right,
I'm
I
telling you
think-
where it is.
Just to,
You need to go, what you need, I'd like you to do is go out, well, you can't do it with the snow, so needless to say, but I need you to come back and tell me what's,
Michael, can you arrange to have CPC provide him
yes.
an answer to his
Town
question?
Town engineer. I think.
Town engineer.
Yes.
I mean, what we're going to approve has to be in the right of way,
Right.
or we have no legal
Authority
right
anyway.
to approve.
But
So, town administrator's going to have the town engineer get you an accurate drawing of,
Go up, Mark.
Where the
The
poles
layout.
are in relation to the sidewalk in this
Go
property.
up, Mark. We should go up, Mark.
what are you gonna do?
Mr. Chairman, but what I can't tell from this drawing here, what I can't tell from this drawing and their placement, where in the right-of-way are they putting it? I mean, I don't want it in the middle of the sidewalk, and,
Grass
'cause-
strip.
I'm sorry?
So the same strip as where the existing light pole is.
Jeff, you see the town engineer's note that he did measure, he went out and measured it, and it meets ADA compliance, where it's going.
it's right in
From,
the engineer's note.
from Central Street, though.
From
both.
both, he went, you can see his note,
Okay.
he went from his measurements,
Okay.
says it right in here from the town engineer. I have reviewed the applicant's application in conjunction with the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Okay.
It meets my approval.
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
Mr. O'Leary.
Was there any consideration of placing another pole on Caroline in order to serve as support for that other pole, rather than wires crossing Central Street?
That would be a push brace pole.
That's leaning there.
What?
And,
You have to have, you have to push it because
yeah.
the way it's
So
leaning.
basically, where the pole is, when it's coming over, you put another pole
Mhm.
about this angle to it, to push it back. And I think that
It would go-
aesthetically would be
Yeah.
worse than the pole and the wires going across the street.
See, they want to
You
put
could-
tension, they don't want to put a support on it, because the support would look aesthetically not
I think
pleasing
you
to the
get a lot
neighbors.
more issue of complaints with a push brace pole right there in Caroline Street.
Mr. Prisco.
I think Mr. Yule deserves an answer regarding the stop sign and the position of the pole in blocking any potential view, which I don't.
I think that's one of the issue, because I think one of his concern is why is the pole a Central Street pole versus a Tamarack pole? The pole got pushed further back towards Tamarack. It's an overhead pole, and with the coordination with the telephone company and the RMLD, there's no system set up for communication for a pole in Tamarack, because it's all underground. So the pole number ends up being a Central Street pole.
Got
because
it.
it's
Got it.
owned by both Verizon and RMLD versus
Yeah.
the streetlight pole, which is just owned by the RMLD or maintained by the RMLD. I don't know if that.
Do you understand that,
helps answer
Jeff?
your question.
Yeah, I do.
Right, I get it now, that makes more sense,
Yeah,
but
so-
your concern now has been addressed regarding the stop sign?
Well, no, as far as the stop sign, I don't know if the view is, if the view is blocked. If you come to that stop sign and you can't see, that's I can't tell by looking at that, I can't, there's no visual of the stop sign, but that's the only,
I think the stop, I think the stop
Stop-
is on the opposite
it
side.
would be side, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He's saying the stop line. In other words, are people gonna have to pull nose out further
Right.
into?
That's
Central
right.
I think it's a valid,
The sight line, is the
Yeah.
sight line gonna be?
I mean, we got a ton of those.
just want to make
all-
sure it gets addressed before we move on.
Right, we got a ton of those all over town, you know? So, if we can eliminate
What are the
one.
wishes of the board at this point in time?
So,
I'm comfortable because of
I'm-
Mike Sorian. I mean, I trust Mike.
just in relation to the other utility marker there, I assume it's telephone along the sidewalk in this photo that you
Yep.
gave us.
Yep.
Is that approximately where the new pole is going to go in front of that on the other side of the sidewalk, parallel to where the current,
Current existing streetlight pole is, yes.
but is it gonna be that far out
Towards Central Street?
towards Central Street?
It's 51
It's
feet
51
from
feet
the
from the center
center.
line of Central Street going towards Tamarack.
Okay, good luck trying to find the center of Central Street.
Yeah.
You know, what's on the map is different than where the road is half the time. You
Yeah,
know, so I mean, no, I'm just, in relation to what I visually see right here, the picture you provided.
Right.
There's a utility for the phone, I assume that's phone. There's a little green,
No, that's just a streetlight pole.
no, no,
The green,
this thing right here. Right here,
It's gonna go in the grass.
Being paved, actually,
The new pole.
okay.
Being paved next year.
So this is a
Oh,
utility.
you're talking about his little fiberglass backs, that's Verizon.
We already did the section down by
Right, that's a Verizon box.
It's Switch River
So
Park
is it
now.
coming this far out?
That section gets done.
This year, we're doing up to
pole,
Is it gonna be?
In the grass.
I-
I understand that.
We're doing up to
Agreed.
Spruce, the next year from Spruce to North.
The pavement starts right here,
Mm.
so just not pulling a vehicle up towards the side of the street with the pavement. So
Spruce.
The pole's gonna be in the grass
Spruce to
strip.
North.
So as
next
far
year.
as viewing is concerned, I think you're gonna need to come out a little
Sight
bit
line.
further to see
We
that
know.
central street.
Right, we're concerned
That's
about
that's the
sight
concern that we
line.
have, the sight line, yes.
Right.
That's the concern that I have.
Right, so my point is that if it's in the grass strip, as you
Can
pull
we
a
have one
vehicle up,
conversation
you
at
gotta
a
come
time?
up to this line right here to
Absolutely.
see up and down Central Street, you'll be passing the pole. The new pole.
Which, again, you have to nose out further.
You have to nose
because
out,
of
yeah.
The sight line.
This- yeah.
Right, but you, by the time you start nosing out, you're already past the pole.
Yeah.
So
I-
you're basically saying the sight line is gonna be behind the pole if you're looking
down.
southerly on Central Street. You're gonna look, you know, if you're pulling out of Tamarack, you're gonna look left.
Yep, you're already
You're gonna be
past.
looking behind the new pole.
No, you won't be. Your car would have already passed.
Okay.
it.
Okay, yeah.
I don't
I don't see how.
how.
If you're moving it from, so, this is the current light, you're moving it this way.
No, it'd
How am I gonna be
not
by?
down towards the greenbacks, it'd be right in the grass strip right here, yep.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So that's in the side view.
That's a different
Yeah, I,
location I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
Okay.
normally you have a slab of cement,
Okay.
and then you have a
That-
grass, and
that's-
you're gonna put it on that
That's less
side.
On the
concerning.
grass side.
Right, on the grass side, okay? When you do that, that puts it right in view of the
I
driveway.
trust Mike
So
Sorian.
it-
I
I-
think Mike
So
knows
the
what
sight
he's doing.
line is gonna be, it could potentially be impacted. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying.
He would not approve this.
Yeah, that's
Unless the
what
stop
I,
sign is further back and you're looking, as I said, behind where the new pole is
right.
proposed to be located, looking down, you know, but if,
My guess is the pole is from the corner 30 feet back or more. It's 51 feet from the center of the road.
From the center of Central Street. which is-
The
Central Street.
location of where the pole is, Mr. Chairman, the wood's actually gonna block your view before the pole will to get out onto Central Street, based on the location you showed us
Yes.
where it's going. So I don't think the view of the pole is gonna have any issue with people pulling out on and off to Central Street.
Well, if
You can
the,
pass this around, show
Yeah.
the others. Thank you, Mr. Fode, for making that. I would like to move to the motion, because I also take a lot of confidence in the town engineer, and he went out and reviewed this, and I take a lot of trust in his recommendations.
Are we all set, gentlemen?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Could you get me, besides verbally saying it, he does have the measurements and everything he did that you were just talking about? Could I get a copy of that?
Yeah, I don't see why not. It's absolutely
Yeah.
public information.
Yeah, I'd like to have a copy of it. Just so I
We
can
have a
remember.
copy, do you have a hard copy with you tonight? I think we do probably in the meeting packet we could pull out.
Of which?
Actual measurements.
No, we don't.
There's no-
We don't have the
we
dimensions of the
He's
street.
looking- This is just diagram.
Right.
A diagram.
We
It's
can
not a
provide the
drawing.
information to the resident, and not this evening, but we can provide
Yeah.
it.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
at this point, I'm not in favor of approving the pole,
Not in favor of what?
approving the placement of the
Well,
pole.
we're gonna take, it's a motion on the table.
No, I understand, I'm
There will
just
be a
sharing.
motion on the table.
I will say, if I may, Mr. Chair, I do agree with Selectman O'Leary in that I don't like to see wires going across the road that don't already exist. I understand you need the guide wire because the pole is gonna be pulling it back, but why can't you use the existing underground on the light that's there to feed the light on the new pole?
That's a hollow fiberglass pole.
So it's going through?
You can't, yeah.
Yep.
You can't hold
Okay.
anything.
And what about replacing the current pole that's leaning?
It's gonna come over. That tension, it's not just the electric company going down.
No, I know, no, I
It's
see how it works.
Verizon and
Right.
it's Comcast. so it's
Comcast,
gonna
Verizon, I know.
come over.
And we don't want double poles, right?
And we don't like double poles. We don't like double poles.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. You could see the picture that's provided, there's a lot of weight on there.
Yeah, it's a lot of weight on the pole.
Can
And
I
with
ask
the
another
underground
question?
pole too, so.
It-
Mr. Preston?
Is it a solution potentially adding another pole but further down, so you have a little less distance between, right now you have a long distance from pole to pole. If you put one in between it, would that take away the
That pole
weight?
is not a simple pole because you can't just relocate it.
I'm not saying relocate, add another one
Stub pole?
in between it. I know we don't want to add another pole, but I am in agreement with Mr. Fode and Mr. O'Leary having.
Relocate the stub pole further down Central Street or?
Yeah, right now you have the tension between one pole to another, there's a long strand, and that's what's causing the tension, I
Right.
assume,
Yep.
right? So rather than have this long span from pole to pole, put one in the middle,
Set pole and another pole.
another set pole.
Caroline.
Will that take away some of the tension?
Yeah, that would take away some of it.
Caroline or
Go to
Central?
Caroline or
No,
Central?
Central.
No, no,
On
no.
Central, you would put it on
No,
Central.
You'd have to have another, because remember, the line is pulling down Caroline Road. In order to relieve that tension, you have to
Right.
put a pole in Caroline Road.
Caroline.
And sag everything,
Right.
and
Okay.
then have that tension kind of relieved.
I get it
That's on
now.
your second pole.
I get it, so the issue isn't on
It's
Central.
Caroline that's pulling
It's
it
on
back.
Caroline,
Right.
okay. Forget about my idea, it's completely stupid.
Well, why is that a bad idea?
Well, because he said that the tension's not on Central Street.
I understand that, but
It's not as a not bad idea, that means, but you realize you're gonna add another pole on Caroline Road, in between the pole on Central Street and pole one Caroline Road. We'll be
Yeah.
adding another pole in
Right,
between there. It could be a solution
One on the corner,
if,
there's a larger lot here, and then there's a couple of little houses.
town doesn't have an issue with it.
Someone's gonna have an issue with it.
Yeah, I can see because his house is right there.
Right.
Where we're putting, where his property is, this is woods right there. So that's kind of like the best place to kind of like put this pole right now where, it's kind of not
Oh,
in
yeah.
anybody's way or,
What's the height of the guide wire?
the height of the guy wire is gonna probably be about 30 feet off, no, about 28 feet off the ground.
And then the electrical feed will be just under that?
Yes, with the street light feed, yeah.
Right, the street light feed.
Yeah, be just beyond that.
I don't know, I threw it out there, but
I'm
I thought it was a good idea first, now I'm not sure.
I'd like to have you look at some other alternatives before I support.
I mean, if it was just a regular pole without the underground feeds on it, there's a lot we could do.
Right.
But where it has the underground feeds for Tamarack and Wickerbury.
Wittenberg, yeah, no.
It's the
Yeah,
deem-
there's-
it's the,
there's not much we
demarc
can-
for the-
You know, if it was just a regular pole, we could do other options with it, but where it's got the feeds going down Tamarack, there's not really much we can do except for the stuff over across the street.
And right now, your concern is that it's tied to a tree.
It is tied off to a tree. Yep.
This was a public notice that went out to all the butters, right? They know.
That's correct.
Yes.
And there's only one abutter here tonight, so, and I think we're gonna address his concerns. I have a lot of confidence that we're gonna be able to do that. So, based on what the town engineer is providing us and the lack of concern from the abutters, I would be actually in favor of what's being proposed, even though I don't particularly like the idea of anything going across Central Street, but based on the magnitude of how important this pole is for the people that live on Caroline and Tamarack, this is probably the best solution due to, any heavy winds and heavy snows and stuff. We take a lot of, we're adding a lot of risk on them if we don't do something.
Yeah.
You're gonna start construction on this very soon.
Spring, he said.
Yeah, we gotta
Which spring?
clear a little bit of snow first.
So based on that, we do have some time
Right.
for you to,
Yeah.
I think, based on what Mr. O'Leary's asking for, is if we could look at maybe where the pole would be on Caroline, even though Mr. Prisco suggested it, now rescinded that suggestion. It may not be a bad idea just to get a look at it anyway, and then, I think we have to do our due diligence in realizing that the best scenario may be where you're asking for it, but
Right.
I think we have to be convinced of that.
Yeah.
Well, I do.
I do,
Yeah.
obviously.
I hate to make it come back again.
I will
He
say,
enjoys us.
there's nothing like underground utility.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
We have underground.
Very
Leave us alone.
expensive.
Yeah, and we try to keep
So,
underground.
where are we? You want to make a motion to table this?
Continue the hearing.
Well, I think we need to close the public hearing first, see if there's any more input.
What do you
Public
want?
hearing, then we can close the public hearing, then we can deliberate.
Yeah,
So-
I'd like to deliberate, I'd like to see
No,
what we
I mean,
vote wise.
I don't know if there's any more input from the public?
I'm not hearing anyone.
All right, so,
I'm
Mr.
gonna
Chairman.
just say this, I'm just holding back what up.
You have to come to the podium, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
That's it. I'm just gonna wait till you, if you're gonna do that again, it'd be good, more abutters would be good. It's pretty bad out, so, maybe a couple will come. But for me, I'm just waiting for you to give me that document and make sure that that works for me and I'm happy.
We can give you that
Yeah.
regardless of what decision we
Right.
make.
Right, yeah, that's fine. Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move to close the public hearing.
I don't mean
That's okay.
to, should we
Postpone.
suspend?
Oh,
Suspend.
what,
Suspend
Continue the public hearing?
Continue the public
we can
hearing.
continue the public hearing to a time certain.
Because we don't have to
I think, why don't we do that?
because you don't have
I
to,
think we're
Re-advertise.
requesting another option. I think
Right.
that's where
Yeah.
that's how I read the board at this point.
yeah, I think
Right.
But my guess is that there'll be a new plan. There could be a new proposed plan for the public hearing, which would involve,
A new-
could potentially involve
public-
Caroline
But we
Road.
may decide back on this one based on what's presented, so. Mr. Gilberto.
I'd advise a continuance to preserve the board's options. If the utility company, the town engineer identify a better alternative, we can advise the board could then vote to deny the request. RMLD could
Or
resubmit
withdraw.
or withdraw. Yeah, the board could withdraw.
RMLD can
Sorry,
withdraw.
RMLD could withdraw, the board could deny. Either or, and then there could be a new plan devised, submitted, advertised, and considered in the future.
by then the snow will be melted.
It would be good though,
Question, is the major concern the visibility on Central Street, or is this?
lines crossing it.
Lines crossing.
Mine is
So that's why
visible.
that idea that I proposed,
Yeah.
that I pulled back, it would be a great solution if we could make that happen.
But mine is visibility.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we got one visibility and one line.
No, no,
crossing.
there's more than one visibility, but just to show that, looking south on Central Street, that it isn't going to, impede the visibility there. I mean, that's also an issue.
Okay.
My primary issue was, again, the crossing of the lines over Central Street, and then, this being brought out, I think you said 8 feet from the current existing,
I'm
approximately,
estimating, yeah.
So
8 to 10
that
feet.
means we'd have to put another
That does
pole.
bring it pretty far out, and again, I don't know where the stop sign is or the stop line, there's nothing painted there, but, with the stop sign and how many people pay attention to it, but my guess is, if you're gonna be forcing people to nose out into Central Street even more, it gets more dangerous.
Right. And that's a fast road,
No, yeah.
very fast road.
Mr. O'Leary.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I move to continue public hearing on the petition of Reading Municipal Light and Verizon New England until, let's pick a date.
The next meeting would be Monday, March 9th.
Is that soon enough?
Is that soon enough? I would say the one after that.
Okay.
23rd.
Is that gonna hurt your timeline?
March 23rd.
Okay, till March 23rd at 7:30?
I suspect, given the budget hearings, we're going to be taking, I think we're going to be starting the meetings a little earlier to get through, so I would
Right.
advise for 6:15 PM.
Yeah.
For the public hearing? People have to get home from work.
We could interrupt budget.
Yeah, I suggest we
Pick
start our
time,
budget.
7:30.
Right.
7:30.
7:30 start.
Right, right.
7:30 PM. You have that, Jane?
I would just advise our department heads of this, so they know that there's gonna be a little break.
Leave this in.
Should plan accordingly.
Because it was presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. O'Leary. Do we have a
Second.
second?
Second.
By Mr. Yule. Further discussion?
Yes.
I just had a question, would the abutters again be notified again?
Not for the
No.
continuance.
Not for the continuance.
If we have another option presented, it'll be a second public hearing,
That's correct.
Right,
and you'll be notified.
Okay. Enough to me, better, so people.
So,
Right.
if you're talking to your neighbors, we may be discussing this again on March 23rd
23rd.
at 7:30. On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Let's
Thank you
go
for coming
on.
all the way
We
up.
Thank
have
you.
Otherwise, get
we
two
have
more.
another public hearing.
One more.
Oh, one more?
one more.
I'm
But
sorry,
you
one
can't,
more.
there's no use doing the next one, right? Yeah, there's no use doing the next, it's the removal.
Oh, okay, my bad.
I mean, you're gonna do that anyway. No, well, maybe not.
If I get the okay for the first one, then I'll.
Good
Right.
point. So we have to
Open the
we
hearing.
have to open the
continue.
hearing and then continue with that also.
Who seconded that last one? by
I
the way?
did.
Okay, so we have a notice of hearing.
Right, just a
Mr. O'Leary,
Hold on a second here, you're getting ahead of me.
we're only half hour late.
So we're right on time
In
then?
accordance with Chapter 166, Section 22 of the Massachusetts General Laws, a public hearing will be held by the Board of Selectmen at North Reading Town Hall, Room 14, 235 North Street, on Monday, February 23rd, 2015, at 7:20 PM or thereabouts, on the petition of Reading Municipal Light Department to remove a pole located on Tamarack Road as described in Reading Municipal Light Plan Number 1935, dated October 14, 2014.
Now, you're gonna make a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to continue the public hearing of the petition of Reading Municipal Light Department to remove a pole on Tamarack Road, shown on Plan 1935, dated 10/14/2014, till March 23rd at 7:35 PM.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, second by Mr. Yule. Further discussion? Obviously, the two are tied together, so
Right.
it only makes sense to do what Mr. O'Leary has proposed. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on our agenda, we have a public hearing for Hessmar, Massachusetts. Change of beneficial interest and change of offices. Sorry for keeping you.
Mr. Chairman, do we want to proceed with the reading of the hearing notice?
Yes.
In accordance with Chapter 138 of the Massachusetts General Laws, a public hearing will be held by the Board of Selectmen in Room 14, Town Hall, 235 North Street, on Monday, February 23rd, 2015, at 7:30 PM, on the application of Hess Mart, Inc., DBA Hess Express, number 21223, 231 Main Street, for a change of beneficial interest and change of officers for the licensed entities of said corporation.
Open the public hearing.
Sir.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr.
Name and
Chairman.
address.
Members of the board, Andrew Upton, representing the Hess Corporation. My office is at 185 Devonshire Street in Boston. This stems from the Hess Corporation's sale of all of their gas stations, convenience stores, and liquor licenses across the United States. And what it means is we have to disclose to the ABCC the upstream beneficiaries at the top of the corporate chart. So what this means is that Speedway Corporation in Ohio is buying the assets of Hess all over the country. And when you have a liquor license, you have to do notifications of the local licensing authority and the UCC. But for the station here, it means no change in the floor plan, manager, location, signage, no change in any aspect of the operation.
Currently, the station is closed.
I thought they were changing it.
My understanding they were doing some repairs.
Yep, I think they're doing
Speak
some,
to that,
I
please.
think they're doing some repairs, and eventually they're gonna change to Speedway from Hess. But they haven't done that yet, and when they do, I'll be filing another application and coming back to seek their approval to change their DBA.
So it's going to continue to run under the name of Hess at this point.
Yep. So it is expected to be the same tomorrow as it was yesterday. But this is just the technical corporate filings at the top.
Mr. Gilberto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So a question that I think has come up is, we're unaware of an exact timeline with regard to the closure of the establishment at this point in time. I know that our operational staff, namely the fire department, has visited on site for some review, potentially inspections as well, and were advised approximately 4 weeks ago that the work was anticipated to take 5 or 6 weeks. Clearly, much of the outdoor construction going on in New England has slowed down because of the weather, and it appears that they are not on schedule for that completion. Do you have any information with regard to the timeline for
I
completion?
do know that all construction that they're undergoing in Massachusetts is behind schedule. So I think it's pretty safe bet that this one is. I can solicit a more specific, more detailed update if you want. Contact you with that.
That would be fine. I suspect it'll come up in future discussions as well.
Any other questions?
So just in relation to the, so you got a change of officers for the beneficial interest. Did you state that the manager of record would remain the same on the,
Manager, yeah, everything that this board approves and has approved, the operation, the floor plan, the hours, the manager, every aspect stays exactly the same. The only changes occur in Ohio with the corporate officers, the beneficial interest. And they are occurring for several thousand across the United States exactly the same way.
Okay, I'm fine.
Any other questions? Mr. Prisco?
So the manager is currently Donna Gilberti, is that right? And that's going to be continued to be her?
Yes, Donna Gilberti will not change as of this file.
Okay.
Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for the record, as the community is aware, the board had asked for an opinion with regard to the pending matter of discipline that is forthcoming with regard to this establishment. There's been a hearing that's been scheduled, a show cause hearing, relative to the allegation of selling alcohol to a minor. I'm only stating this because the board referenced it when we were setting the hearing date. I did consult with town council on the matter. The board was advised in an opinion that's in this evening's packet that action tonight with regard to this change of beneficial interest would not preclude any action for a potential disciplinary hearing down the road. So I state that more for the public to know, because the public is aware of the request. The board has been provided the opinion. The board members are aware of it as well.
Right, and I understand that the licensee is going to be, the licensee today is going to be the same licensee tomorrow, and any allegations or sanctions against that licensee and that manager, and that's not going to change.
Thank you for that clarification.
That was our understanding, too.
That being said, this is the first I've heard of any potential violations, so
Might be back for that.
I'll be reporting that back to the headquarters as well.
I'm
You
sure
mean
they
you don't
were-
watch the local access channel and watch our meetings? I mean, how could you be, no. Teasing.
Maybe I should start.
Yeah, don't bother. There's better stuff on television.
Okay.
They were one of three. We do a semi-annual
Compliance check.
Yeah.
And the, does that mean the notice perhaps has gone to the station since no one's there, and maybe it hasn't gone to the headquarters yet?
I believe it goes to the,
I talked to Donna, it went to the station, and she picks up the mail there regularly.
Okay, so I'll have that checked.
Okay.
it
She's
was-
aware of the
it
mail.
was- it was sent on Friday, it may have arrived today,
Ah,
or Saturday. Great.
And the meeting is scheduled for you, might want to let them know.
For March 9th, 2 weeks from this evening. And I don't remember what time yours was. I looked to Jane if you remember offhand. If not, it's beginning in the 6 o'clock hour. There were
It is.
3 hearings set.
Okay, Mr. O'Leary,
Close the public hearing? Chair is going to close the public hearing?
close the public hearing.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the change of beneficial interest and change of officers for the package store wine and malt beverage license for Hess Mart of Massachusetts, 231 Main Street.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, second by Mr. Yule. All in favor?
Aye.
No, that wasn't the vote, that was just to close the hearing.
All right, just to
No,
close the
no.
hearing.
That was to
Go ahead.
No, he
I'll
closed
say-
the hearing.
Right.
Close the hearing, this is a vote.
This is
sorry.
this is a vote on the
I
motion.
apologize.
This is a vote on the motion.
Do you have a comment?
I do have a
Yeah,
comment.
before
I
the
just
vote.
want, just to make sure everything's clean and right. This is a publicly traded company, correct?
It says no.
It says no in the application, but I just want to make sure the application's correct. It says no, but I believe it is publicly traded.
I think it's publicly traded now, but after the transaction,
It won't be?
yeah.
Okay.
The new,
That's
the
what I'm,
new ultimate beneficial interest parent company,
well,
Speedway.
Speedway isn't,
Speedway isn't, okay.
but this firm is. That
Hess.
your Hess, that your, it's taking, the new Hess is taking control, is still going to be publicly traded, am I?
No, Speedway is buying the old Hess.
Okay, we're not talking about Speedway today. We're talking about Hess taking over Hess. That's what it says.
No, we're talking the beneficiary, the beneficial interest is going to go to a non-publicly traded entity.
When we approve this, okay, so when we approve this, we're approving it for a non-public traded company.
Based on what I just heard.
That's correct. They will come back for a change of the doing business as to Speedway, rather than Hess.
Okay.
if I
Later
understand it
on.
correctly.
Right, once they,
Once they consummate the entire deal, once they get all the approvals and the deal is correct me if I'm wrong, once all the deals, once all these things
Move
have
on.
taken
Okay.
place and the deal has been consummated, once all these things have taken place, then the Speedway change comes back to the board.
Right.
yes.
But I thought this current transaction is still under Hess Mart of Massachusetts, which is still publicly traded. That's all, fine, we'll move on. It says it's not, but I believe it is. So, it doesn't matter, it's in the minutia, let's move on.
Right, I believe that the ABCC, their policy is that when the financial interest upstream, who's getting the money from the sale of alcohol, when that changes from the current Hess structure to the future Speedway Marathon structure, the policy is that the people in those companies and the beneficiaries of that money, even though it's relatively minimal flowing upstream, ought to be disclosed to the public.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the purpose of the application, is to disclose who these people are. Whether or not they're publicly traded, may not make a big difference, but it is now on file who they are, in case someone ever wants to
That's fine.
know or wants to read something.
I just want to make sure that our paperwork is correct and they checked off that it's no, and that's, I just wanted to get a confirmation on, because I know it is publicly traded. Okay.
Fair enough.
One last thing, Mr. Chair, if I might. Just for full disclosure, Mr. Upton may not recognize me, but we had a relationship in Somerville years and years ago, and I just want to make sure that I divulge that.
I believe I benefited from one of the finest chicken marsalas that I've
Thank you.
You should just recuse yourself from this one.
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Mr. Fode has asked if we pass over a discussion of town hall land again. Mr. Fode, you want to make a comment about that?
I just did, there's
Thank
a
you.
resident who approached me about some town land, and I was not able to get in touch with them to reschedule it for the third time, so if we could put it off for the next meeting, that'd be great.
We will do so. Anyone here for public comment?
I can't even hear what you say. No thoughts were solved.
Oh, we do? You can't hear?
I asked if anyone was here for public comment.
On a specific issue or overall?
Whatever you want.
Whatever you
Public
want.
comment, anything.
Public
This is
comment.
your opportunity.
I will say.
You have to
You have to come to the podium and again, restate your name and your address.
I will say this, thank you for doing, or you're about to do, Central Street.
Yes.
Thank you. Long time coming. My
Yes.
ass won't be so sore.
No, just for the folks at home. We're talking about paving the road. It's gonna be
Yeah.
from 62 to Spruce this year, and then from Spruce to the end, whatever it is,
Yeah, the end of
You
the
have
line.
one other-
end of the line the following year.
You have the new business? Well, anyway, listen, the DEP, I just want to make you aware of this on something. The DEP is going to be, they put out an RFP for contractors to work with them on doing carpet recycling and also mattress recycling. And they're gonna come to all the cities and towns and ask if they want to be part of it. I have been one of the founders of carpet recycling in the country, and I have to repeat it. And although I won't be doing too much, we will be putting a facility, probably working over in Wilmington, and we're hoping that you will put a container here. The way it's gonna work, my understanding, with DEP, they're gonna send, they will provide the containers for you, and they will, when they're full, they will send them to a recycler, like myself or somebody like that. So it's a huge upside for you guys, because there's gonna be a lot of money saved, because if the carpet's not going into the landfill, you can be able to
And mattresses.
reduce your cost with your waste haulers. And what I would want, and I'd come back and ask you later, but I'm just here for now, I'll tell you, is that we want to push as hard as we can to get the residential carpet off the sidewalk and to your recycle center. Because in reusing our carpet, it cannot be wet. I have a technology that takes carpet apart, and it goes back into plastics, it goes back into plastics. It's a huge project that we're working on, brand new technology we developed, and that's gonna all be part of it. So everyone in the state can have the opportunity to get involved with this. Please do. Please do.
Thank you.
When do we anticipate notification on that?
Well, our RFP's coming out next Friday from DEP. It'll be, they're gonna be looking for numbers from us, so we'll give them some numbers on what they're doing. I sat down and helped them do some changes in what they were doing, so, because they were doing kind of messed up a little bit. It's just that I've been doing it for 15 years.
That's a great idea.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, we would like to, living in this town, I want you guys to be I want to be this town to be a leader of that.
Well, keep us informed.
Yeah,
please.
definitely.
Thank you.
I think I'll.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
that's Economic Development Committee, second reading, charge. Mr. Prisco had taken notes at our last meeting, some changes. He published those notes. Mr. Yule took those notes and I think massaged it into a format that is typical of other policies that the board has. So I know you've had a chance to review what Mr. Prisco, what Mr. Yule presented.
Yeah, it's just a different approach.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if I could, Mr. Chairman, I did
Well,
take.
there's two things. One is the format, the other is the content.
Yeah.
Or the intent.
Yeah, and the format's not an issue, I think, for right now. I think the content is what we really probably should focus on tonight, and because if, what Mr. Yule's proposing is just a different direction than what I went back with the second reading on. We had directives in our second reading, which we all agreed on, and in what Mr. Yule's approach is in the first reading, and then I took the comments and I updated. I put everything in there, 100%, everything that the board asked is in the second reading. I believe, Mr. Yule, you can go through it on your own, but I think, you pretty much took all the directives out and just and took more of a policy structure versus us taking more of a charge in our direction. So it's up to the board, I guess, if they want to go with a policy versus the charge, which is the direction I let off and went and created the second reading on. That's where we're at.
Okay, I'll open it up for discussion.
Mr. Yule wants to.
Oh, we have him, Jeff.
Okay. Do the copies that everybody have, I had kind of color coordinated it. Is it black and white on yours?
Black and white on mine.
Now, of course, I did so, and two different. I think
If you
Mike
have a
has
copy,
I have-
fine, otherwise I can pull it
Okay.
up.
Okay. All right, so what I was looking to accomplish here was to set up a format that was consistent with how committees are set up and are written in our code books for the community, for the town code and the a code of the town code and the Board of Selectmen in North Reading in the town charter. So I was looking to tie everything together because I think it's very important that when a committee is set up, we need to be able to connect it to its purpose, and its authority needs to be tied in so that we understand how the committee was created. The charge, the intent of the charge that I have here is to incorporate all the possibilities so that we can be sure that we're covering everything that is possible and keeping the committee with a sense of direction that it would have. The questions on at the end of it, what I did was, with what was submitted as a second reading by Selectman Prisco, I put in red where it was addressed in my format and how it was addressed in my format. So if you looked at the very first thing on creating an economic development committee, I have that addressed in the very beginning as in the membership selection. So if you go to the membership selection, you'll see that I have it broken down there. In the membership section, the only question that I had on there was how many non-voting associate members there would be. We didn't identify that. I was also looking to create that the committee shall develop strategies for the attraction and growth of and retention of business. That's the words that was in Michael's version. But I also wanted to be consistent with the strategic plan and objectives established and periodically adopted by the BOS. And I think you might have had that in there as well. And be consistent with the town charter, Section 8, which incorporates the CPC, brings them into the equation, and items with 382 and 383, which is their comprehensive plan. And then to be proactive and establish and maintain ongoing dialogue with business to create and maintain a vibrant business environment and with owners of the commercial properties to identify how the town can work with the owners to achieve productive use of their land, which with mutually beneficial results. The committee shall work with the town administrator, with his authorization, town staff, for guidance with the expertise of a department can be of assistance, with authorization from the Board of Selectmen, work with state legislators to identify and solicit available funding that can be used to upgrade, expand, and maintain the economic development of the town. And that was very important there. In the previous wording, it didn't refer to authorization to go to any of to the state legislature. It just said that they should do that. So I was concerned that, looking down the road, because we know what our intent is here, but 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, someone might come along and say, well, I think they really meant this. So we don't want a committee talking to legislators without the approval of the Board of Selectmen. And of course, the committee may consult and collaborate with outside sources for input in their areas of expertise. And that would refer to if they have to talk with the Reading Municipal Light, they have expertise, we can talk to them, or some other agency or business that would be helpful. With regard to the membership, I emphasize that the committee shall consist of 7 voting members appointed jointly by the Board of Selectmen and the CPC, non-voting associate members, and non-voting liaison representatives. Again, that could be, a liaison representative could be the North Reading Municipal Light or National Grid or whomever. And then I emphasize that, distinguish that the membership, who's a voting member and who is not a voting member. And again, going back down the line, you have the non-voting associate members. We didn't put a number on that. We probably should, whether we want 3, 4, 20, whatever. As I said, the non-voting liaisons would be National Grid and RMLD. Now, the membership selection should be pursuant to Chapter 3.1 of the policies of the Board of Selectmen, paragraphs, applicants and incumbents. Potential members must submit a completed citizens' activity report to the Office of the Town Administrator. And the selection of a committee member should include, but not be limited to, the consideration of legal business owners. And I emphasize legal business owners in this case, commercial property owners, business associations, residents of North Reading who have expertise in, but not limited to, planning, commercial real estate appraiser experience. That should be in black because that's, I think, was Steve's suggestion. Economic development, finance, business management, construction, training, education, marketing, as well as other areas of expertise and experience which will be instrumental in the committee achieving the execution of its charge. So, that's pretty much it. I think that it needs to be all-encompassing so that, again, those down the road can have a clear understanding of what the charge is. The breaking it down to a list of things to do, the concern that I had with that is that once something on the list is done, it's still part of the committee, but it's done. And so therefore, we don't want to weaken the interest in such a committee because it's really an important committee coming forward because it needs to be continuous, an evergreen type committee. So that's pretty much it. So, and I was hoping that it would be a constructive effort more than anything else.
I don't know where to start, I guess. We as a board started with a document. We made some changes to the document. I think, if I read this correctly, Jeff, what's in red is what, on the first page and a quarter, is what you've written.
Yeah,
The black
supposed to
is
be.
what?
right. The black is what I took off of the second reading that Mike provided us.
When I go to what I believe Mike completed based on our discussions,
He's saying delete that. Delete all that's gone.
Well-
And he told you how he covered each one of those in his
right,
write-up.
right.
And again, his write-up is a policy, and when we left here at the last meeting, we wrote it as the EDC is to advise in an advisory role, but this is a policy, so it's a completely different direction. So we're originally gonna create a committee to do advisory role. This is a committee that's actually gonna have a policy, focus under a policy, so, which is, if that's what the board wants to do, then we can structure it that way and move forward. It's really up to how the board wants to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I believe the intent of the board was to create an advisory committee.
When I left here at our last meeting, that was the direction I went off and wrote up the second reading based on that direction, yes.
So what is your intent?
Well, we reach back to the last meeting. One of the points that you brought out, Mr. Chairman, was that what you didn't want to happen was what occurred with the FAC, which was a fiscal advisory committee. And you didn't want this committee to be suffer the same experience that committee did. So with that in mind, I looked at this and I said, well, this gives substance to the EDC, rather than coming before us and just advising us. If you look at the bullets to, in Mike's version, Selectman Prisco, I'm sorry, where they're giving charges to do and to address not so much advise. So that there is some confusion on my part, in my understanding what you're actually looking for here, because I didn't walk away that it would be an advisory committee, that they would just advise. They have things to do here. So am I wrong in that? Misinterpreting that?
Well, the first paragraph, Jeff, I'll just read it really quickly. It's, the 7-member Economic Development Committee is to advise the Community Planning Commission and the Board of Selectmen on matters related to the current and future economic development in the community. That's what we set. That's what I went off, took from that meeting, and that's what I brought back to this board today. That's exactly how it was worded on reading on the first reading, and that's how it was. I sent it back out as a second reading. So.
For consideration as second reading.
Yeah, and again, all the discussions up till this very moment have been creating this committee focused to provide an advisory role. So if we're going to go out and develop a local tax incentive program, this committee would go out, do some research, look at what other communities are doing, bring those options and suggestions back to both the CPC and the BOS for consideration. It wouldn't be direct, and I think, and then that would be the advisory role I envision the EDC providing. Is that a good enough example?
Yeah, that's a very good example. I'm not here to
No, I know.
promote
No,
one or the other.
You're providing another approach,
Yeah.
which is absolutely 100%.
Right.
That's what we're supposed to do in this process, so.
There, but when on the to-do list, for example, what does he have it with the? It's at the end. When he has it to meet with the representatives, the legislators' representatives, when he has that in here, that, I mean, is that something that we would want them to do without our approval?
Okay. Well, again, if you go back and you look at it, what we want the EDC to go out is, and it says this specifically, work with state legislators to identify available economic development funds. That's all they would do, is they go out and look what's available, state and federally, from an economic development standpoint, and bring those back here to this board for consideration. And you gotta you gotta go to the legislature. You have to go to the State House to try to identify where these things are. So that would be their charge, because I don't think, I really can't see the town administrator taking a tremendous amount of his time to go up to the State House on a routine basis to try to look at these things. So I think my vision was we use the EDC to do a little bit of that legwork, but bring all that data back here for consideration and direction from the Board of Selectmen and the CPC to decide, okay, which ones do we really want to focus on? Because there are a lot of grants out there today that we are not applying for. And there's some grants that we may not want to. We should consider as a board. But I think my vision, at least the way we discussed it at the first reading, was that this committee would go out and do that research and bring those opportunities here for us to consider what to go forward with. And I'm not saying yours doesn't say that, but
Right.
you took out all the, because the way we wrote it was the purpose of the committee is to advise the BOS, the CPC, and the town administrator on matters of policy related to but not limited to. So it is, I don't really call it a to-do list, you did. But again, it was just try to put some ideas out there to get them started, but it's not limited to that. I think it sets the tone for what we have to do. And maybe it wasn't clear enough.
I guess here's the problem I have, okay, quite frankly. We start with a document, we read it, right? We add to it, we bring it back for second reading, and what you produce is a totally different document, which makes it difficult, because now we're rehashing, it's almost like we're starting all over again.
Well,
It's
it's
in the way
policy.
of making,
It's a policy, not,
right,
this is.
maybe we can
this-
separate the two.
Yeah, and if that's
right?
what the board wants to go with a policy, if the board wants to go in the direction of what Mr.
But
Yu was
then I would
proposing,
consider that to be a first reading.
it would have to be, I agree.
Well, you'd have to hold this one down first.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't, Mr. Chairman. I can appreciate, and I do appreciate the effort that Jeff put into it, and
Yeah,
the thought
absolutely.
process behind it in relation to establishing a policy of the board in relation to the formation of this committee. That can still come after if we feel it's necessary. I think what was produced and what we've been working on here, and I happen to, I was advocating, putting in some suggestions of things for them to look at, because I think it would stimulate some interest in the committee, first of all, and there's some very real things here that are timely that need to be addressed. So I kind of like the format that we have here, Jeff, in relation to the charge. This is the charge to the committee. This is not, it's the formation and charge to the committee from this board. And we're giving them some targets to hit as far as, or take aim at anyway. I don't know if we're gonna hit them, but take aim at it. So, I mean, if we find it necessary as a board to establish a policy specific for the Economic Development Committee, then we can do that. I don't know that we're there yet. I don't know that we have to, because I think the charge is going to give them enough direction. And all throughout it does say advise the Board of Selectmen, advise us with the Planning Commission. So I think we've made that very clear. I think one of the things, we were very fuzzy with the FAC, and that was the board's fault. It wasn't their fault. We just said, hey, go out and find us something. And they went and did it, and they worked very hard.
Right.
And it wasn't necessarily, they didn't have the same vision that the majority of the board had at the time, and it just created some friction, and it wasn't good. So that was the board's failure. This is much more defined and gives them some much clearer direction, and I think it's pretty good. So I think if we find it necessary to establish a board policy specific to this committee, because we don't generally have one specific for specific committees. We have overall policies as to how we're gonna do things and how we, how the machinations are supposed to work. more generally than specific. But if we find, in the course of, as this moves forward, the need to do that, then we get into the less specific and more general charge as to what we want them to do. So I think if we can proceed with what we've been working with, I mean, everything's here. Your document, their document, everything's here. My only suggestion as a second reading here is, I read through it again, in relation to the terms of office of the members. I think what we need to do is, for the following, I think we need to say, right where we say for the following terms, we'd say, the committee shall be made up of 7 members jointly appointed by the Board of Selectmen and CBC for the following terms. I think it should be following initial terms,
Good point.
or initial staggered terms.
Yep.
And after that, put subsequent terms will be for a 3-year period. That way there,
It's clear.
it's much more clear, rather than, this one's only got it for 1 year, this one's got it for 2 years, forever, and then it's back for another 1 year. Because that's not the whole idea is to stagger the membership's terms. So it's the initial term shall be, and every subsequent term will be for 3 years. Other than that, I think, I think everything we talked about and suggestions that were made were incorporated into it. And I appreciate the fact that you put in the appraisal portion of it, but I think it should be commercial real estate appraisal, not necessarily just appraiser experience. We have commercial real estate background.
Yep.
It should be commercial real estate appraisal experience. Is
Commercial.
really what we need,
You got it.
rather than the residential stuff.
Yep.
But I think.
Yeah. So Steve, you're talking the bullet where we talked about the commercial real
That's
estate.
what I wrote.
In parentheses, you want me to add
Yeah.
commercial appraisal and expense?
Yeah, that's Jeff put it.
I have it worded, so it's commercial real estate appraisal, appraiser experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rather than just appraisal experience, because that's pretty broad.
Yep.
There are lots of people out there with lots of residential appraisal experience, and that's not what we need. And I'll tell you, I look at it every day, and these appraisals are voluminous, and the demographics that they use for commercial properties and studies as to what's going to happen, what's happening, what's going to happen, what the predictions are invaluable. And it's uncanny as to, when you have a good one, how insightful they are for what's happening and what's going to be happening. So that's what's key.
What
Rather
I'm
than just
thinking,
appraisal.
what I'm thinking is what was bothering Jeff was, when you create a policy of the board, basically you're saying, you're not thinking so much of even this board. We start something and the board changes. If it's in the policy, then the policy of the board would be to always have an economic development committee until the board decided to change the policy.
Correct.
So I think that's what he's leading with, is so it doesn't go away.
Right.
And, I think Steve is able to separate the two in maybe all our minds associated with what we're trying to get kicked off the ground in the form of a charge, and whether we want to come back and establish a board policy saying that going forward, we will have this committee in place all of the time. Because I think that's,
No, it's,
and then that charge should be much more general than the specifics of this.
Yeah.
Because right here, we've got some key objectives associated with getting this off the ground. And we got the buried property we need to deal with and a few other things. Downstream, it may be totally different.
Oh, there'll be a whole host
And
of other
therefore,
issues
the
to deal with.
policy, I think that's what was bothering you associated with the list of tasks, maybe. So I think, once we get this going, maybe we want to come back and talk about that, as Steve has suggested.
agreed.
Can we get back to this document then? Are there any other changes that we
Those
want
are
to
the
make
only
the
two
second
things.
reading?
Yeah, those are the only two things I was suggesting in relation to the initial term, and then following terms will be the 3 years. That clarifies it, and I think that's what our intent was.
I think Mr. Yule had a question regarding the associate members, putting a limit on those as well. Is
Yeah.
that- Did you want to discuss that with this second reading?
Well, yeah, I guess that's what we have to make a decision on, because we just had associate members, and we didn't have a number associated with that, so we should have I would think, have a number we're not gonna leave that open-ended, I would think not.
I didn't have a concern leaving it open. I think more the merrier, associate.
At this point, I'd like to see what the interest is in the talent pool that
Yeah.
comes in, as far as we in the CPC deems as being necessary to really get this thing going quickly and well. So I don't think we need to limit it at this point. Doesn't mean we have to keep filling, everybody that applies is gonna get appointed as an associate member either. You know, we can limit that initially, you know, we have our appointed members and a certain number of associate members based upon talents that they have that they're looking to offer, and we may want to curtail that initially. But let's see what we have first.
If I may ask, what do we have now as far as interest is concerned? What's the list?
Michael's got it, yeah.
I believe we have, advised by staff that I believe we have 7 candidates who have submitted written documentation of interest, and I think that we had set a deadline of Thursday at noon time, so that we would have the entire candidate pool available for consideration at the potential appointment taking place next Tuesday, as agreed to with the CPC.
So that would be 5 plus 2 associates if
Well,
that all works
I
out.
think he's talking about people from the outside that have applied,
Right.
not the Board of Selectmen members.
Right, 5 plus 2 associates.
I
The
think
5
it's-
is not us, does not include us.
You're one, right?
I think I'm one of the 7.
Yeah, one of the 7,
Then there's
right.
at least one, right? I don't know if he's a CPC.
And Chris Hayden's one of the 7.
Okay.
So at least 5.
And then there's 5, I believe, cars that are in,
Right.
that have been submitted.
Oh, I see what you're saying,
And of those 5, one of the key players may not be on that list, right?
Yeah, that I do not know at
Yeah,
this time.
Yeah.
But I do know, out of the 5, some of them only wanted to do it a year, maybe 2 years, because, you know, they have very important jobs and other things, so they, but they are very serious and believe this is a very important thing, and their expertise would be great for the first, maybe even first 2 years, so, that we'll get through
But
that.
generally, there's some fallout, so having some additional interested people
Yeah.
and want keeping them there,
Absolutely.
not restricting the number at this point might be a good idea.
I think there's gonna be a lot of activity right out of the gate, and, matter of fact, just throwing it out there, I actually did a little checking around, and, Steve, about that postal facility, so they are emptying it out even more now. So, that probably, you know, I think
When
we
you
should,
talk about that, there's 2 pieces of it, which piece are you talking
well,
about?
the back building's empty.
Okay.
There's
So
only,
you're
they're
talking
only
about
in the front
the
section.
sorting area?
Yeah, there's very limited operation right now, so I think we should probably make the effort to really dig into what's going on, because my understanding now is there probably is no long-term use for that facility.
So we can put appointments on the agenda at our next meeting. Can we close on a second reading here?
As amended, is that how you want to do it?
Yeah.
And then I can update it.
That's why I'm asking, is there any other
Hold on.
amendments? Town administrator can weigh in also.
I have no additional comment to offer.
Okay.
But if we could, so the suggestion, you know, what you're asking is, do we want to approve the second reading as amended based on the comments that we just were provided?
Right.
And
And then we
then
will have a document.
Karen could go ahead and take it, the comments that are provided tonight, make it final, or you want me to do that?
Give it to the CPC.
Yep. Well, we got all their comments. They're- I
Right,
believe
but-
all
but I
theirs have
mean-
been captured.
Because this is a joint
Yep,
Mhm.
charge.
absolutely.
Right.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm probably the minority on this issue with regarding the North Reading Chamber of Commerce. If we're going to have a member from there, I would prefer that the member be a...
It doesn't have to be Jeff.
No, it's just a
It's just a
suggestion group to
suggestion.
look at.
Those are just suggestions for us to go out and have some consideration of who we could, what talent pool we can pull from. So if you go back and you read the paragraph above that, you know, you can see, but it's not limited to, it's just
Right.
looking at what representation's out
It
there
should give,
in the
give
community.
consideration, but not limited
Right.
to.
Right, and right now, we don't have anybody, I believe, submitted that's a part of the chamber. I don't think any of those people that we received cards from are on the
Right.
chamber. Maybe Rich Wallner, who's maybe, but he may
Yeah.
be the only one.
But, do you think that whoever the member from the chamber is, should be a North Reading business person?
Again, I am not concerned with that at all.
I'm with Steve.
You know, I think if someone owns commercial real estate or owns a business in North Reading, if they own a business in North Reading, they're probably spending more waking hours in North Reading than they are at home.
Yeah, that's, I mean,
Right,
they have
so-
a
so
business
yeah,
in North
yeah,
Reading.
So I have no,
They have a
That's what
lot
I'm
to
saying.
lose.
you know, so it's, they have a vested interest for sure.
But if somebody has a business in Reading, do you want them, and they're a member of the chamber, do you want
No,
somebody?
not necessarily.
We
Not
don't have to
necessarily.
approve it.
Yeah, but we don't have to, just
Oh,
because they have
well,
an
you-
interest doesn't mean
Take that
Yeah.
on
individual
an
basis.
individual
It's
basis.
depending upon what they have to offer. You know, I mean,
Could be a-
What's your
Could be a North
concern?
Reading resident who has a business in Reading, maybe there's an interest there.
Right.
So-
Jeff, you have a concern over something, what is it?
Well, my concern is that, North Reading is responsible for its own growth, and it should be determined by everybody from North Reading. So I become a little bit provincial in that regard. Having someone from another town who has an influence on our decisions, I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with that.
well, it's gonna be a joint appointment between 5 members of the Board of Selectmen, 5
No,
members
I
of the Planning
understand that.
Commission.
I understand
And
that, yeah.
I think if a majority of
Right.
those two boards feel as though someone who happens to live or work in Reading or Georgetown, or I don't care where, you know, is going to bring some talent to the Economic Development Committee,
Mhm.
you go for it. And if we feel as though we want to get a little more parochial about it, the majority will rule, you know, we'll vote that way.
Right.
So I don't.
The process, Jeff, if it works correctly, you should have the opportunity to voice those kind of concerns, and you may not be alone at that point, and that person would be voted in or voted out.
And
based
the other
on
thing
that.
is,
So
we
you're
may
gonna have
be
an
able to,
opportunity to
we may
voice
be
it.
able to attract some people who may not be a member of the community, may have an interest though in a wider regional effort in relation to economic development, that may be
Well,
willing
I
to
think,
step forward.
I think the other thing that I also have a concern about is when we go down the road, when we're all gone, we're no longer on the board. And this goes back to why I developed what I did, the way I did it, is that the direction of the board at that point down the road, they should not be guessing what we wanted to have done. They should know in writing what needs to be done. So if it says in there only a member of, I'm just using this as an example, only a member from the Chamber of Commerce is a North Reading business owner, or resident, whatever the case might be, but business owner would be more appropriate, then we're having a member of the chamber be on the committee, but they are a North Reading business individual.
I
So-
happen to know some
and
people
it's-
who have a Reading business that are North Reading residents that are on the chamber.
Well, okay, that meets a criteria, I understand that. Okay, that I do.
Yeah, so,
Okay. Yeah, it's just a different approach, different way of looking at it. That's basically it.
Okay. We ready to vote on the second reading as amended?
okay, everybody okay with it? Everybody else okay with the suggested amendments?
I am.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the second reading of the charge of the formation of the Economic Development Committee as amended per the attached document.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, seconded by Mr. Yule. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you. Good discussion. We have a license renewal update. Mr. Gilberto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was able to speak with the owner of North Reading Transportation, which is a remaining license
Excuse me.
renewal. I had the opportunity to speak with him today. He has indicated that it is his intention to proceed with keeping the renewed license, and that he will be coordinating with the police department no later than next Tuesday to have his fingerprints taken and apply for renewal. So I advise that we would then take action to close this matter out at the meeting of March 9th.
Okay.
Very good. We have an appointment, Veterans Affairs Committee.
Just a quick question. Is there any administrative action we have to take between now and that particular date, so he has approval to operate the business?
He, at this point in time, he has a license that's been issued. He has been advised that if he did not comply by the original date of January 26th, that he would be subject to a potential disciplinary action up to including revocation. No further action has been taken. I don't believe any further action needs to be taken. If he does not comply within the timeline, then the board may wish to consider scheduling for a potential hearing. But short of that, his license is valid and is in place at this
I
time.
just want him to have the ability to keep his business going until he gets this rectified.
I
Okay.
would note that of his own disclosure at this point, he is not operating a livery service in the town of North Reading, so he may not be applying to renew in North Reading come calendar year 2016.
Okay.
I would note that fact, but where he did apply for the license in November or December, he was faced with either comply or face revocation. He opted to comply.
Okay. Thank you.
So we have two motions regarding Veterans Affairs. Mr. O'Leary.
Which one are we doing here?
I'm gonna catch up here.
Mr. Chairman, I move to place in nomination the following name for member of the Veterans Affairs Committee for a term to expire on December 31st, 2017. Arthur G. Cole Jr., 2111 Archstone Ave, Tewksbury.
Second.
Do you have a second for Mr. Yule?
Yes.
Just a question.
Why is someone from Tewksbury?
What?
Well,
Yeah, well, I mean,
okay.
Also, there's a second appointment for an
Which is
associate member from someone from North Reading, so.
Right.
That's
that's
the question I was gonna have too.
Okay. So who's
That-
making these recommendations?
That is their choice.
Who's their choice? Whose
The,
choice?
the,
Richard Stratton?
Yeah,
That's his choice to just be an associate
yeah,
member?
that's what they submitted.
Well, no, he submitted to be a member of the Vet Committee.
Right.
He said, Mr. Cole, let me see what, Veteran Committee and Veterans Memorial Committee,
Yeah.
Mr. Stratton, I mean, not just an associate
Yeah.
member.
Yeah, he
But I
didn't
mean-
note it.
Well, let me answer the first question about the Tewksbury.
Okay.
Okay, let me answer that question, okay? I inquired with the TA's office, and through them, the Veteran Affairs, Susan Magna said, there is no requirement that they live in town, and there's no requirement, because I was wondering, what the requirements were. There's no requirement that for that committee, that they live in town.
Okay. And I understand he's a, well, I don't know, it says commander, but VFW commander, I don't know if it's current, past, which one, which post? I mean, I don't know which
It's
post
current,
our-
'cause it says
our members
present.
belong to, or our veterans belong to.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think Mr. Gilberto has
I can
some input.
I have some input. I can attempt to clarify some of it. With regard to the appointments, we rely on the recommendations, in the office, we rely on the recommendations of the liaisons. Jane has advised me that Mr. Stratton is recommended as an associate member because he had applied originally for the Memorial Day Committee. He was not able to be appointed because there was not a vacancy on that committee at that time. So he was slotted in for the associate member. Mr. Cole was a candidate only for the Veterans Affairs Committee and was therefore recommended for appointment to a full membership. But I have not personally, full disclosure, researched the enabling authority for the committee, so I can't speak to that particular matter.
Mr. Foley.
I guess my question is, do we know that Mr. Stratton doesn't want to be a full member of the Veterans Committee? Because if that's the case, I think if he does want to be, I think it'd be, my preference would be to have Mr. Stratton as a resident of North Reading being a full member of the committee, and maybe Mr. Cole as a
It was Susan Magna's suggestion to do it that way.
right.
Based on their interest in the Veterans Affairs.
Mr.
Yeah.
I certainly would defer to the liaison, which I believe is Selectman Yule. You
Yes,
are
yeah.
the
Yeah,
liaison,
I mean,
but,
that's the feedback that I had. I think that if Susan who is very closely involved with this, wants to do it this way, I mean, I have complete faith and confidence in her. I don't know the individuals, so I've never met them, so I would be at a disadvantage to have a greater appreciation of the authenticity of what they say. Okay, I think Susan's in a better position to help in making that decision.
So it's clear to me we don't have the answers this evening. I suggest that we table this until our next meeting, and we'll have an opportunity to contact both people and find out. There's one, my understanding is there's one opening
That's
on
correct.
the committee,
That's correct.
left, right? And clearly, if there's an interested member of our community, that member should be on the committee.
We can consult with the Veterans Aid.
I'll consult with her again, but, okay.
I'm a disabled vet, by the way, so just listening to you. I have board experience in those kind of things, and I'm a little slowing down on these days and might be looking for something to catch my interest and maybe get involved with. Early on, I helped Susan when she first came, and the gentleman that was here before, and helped to put together a couple of programs on, especially on getting money back on the tax, abatement again. I'm not too aware of the Veterans Affairs Committee and how it's structured, so I really can't, is there any way I can find that out? And I'd like to maybe take a look at it, and possibly, if I can fit it in, maybe even look to represent North Reading on the committee.
What you can do is, obviously, you can pull a citizen's activity record out. You go right online and have it printed, or you can come into the office and receive a form and see Jane.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, and you can have that information, you can look at it, and obviously supply us with information about your experience and so on. It's a committee that doesn't have, it's an open committee, let's put it that way. You don't have to be a vet to be on it,
Right.
but that's probably our preferred.
Doesn't
But,
hurt.
So that's all you
I'll
need
look
to
it
do.
up and see what it is, and maybe it's an interest,
Right.
something I could do, help benefit.
Okay, so we have, okay.
For the town, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Great, so we have another member. Did you want to put this back to the next meeting, or, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, so do you think you can have that information?
I'll get it as quick as I can. I can see her tomorrow, come pick up.
Yeah,
the-
sure, yeah.
I'll swing by tomorrow and I'll
And you
get
can now,
the information.
not sure whether you use the town's website at all or not, but you can actually apply online as well through the town's website now. If you go to the bottom, there's an online application.
Right.
If not, you can come to the office as
Yeah,
well.
okay. Well, if I have questions, that can't be answered on the computer.
You should
it's
speak
easy,
with the Veterans Aid.
Just
Jumping
speak
out
with
the
Susan.
gate
Yeah.
to get, quicker by maybe talking to you.
Yeah,
Sure,
James,
absolutely.
You can-
speak
Jane or
with
Susan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward.
Hang around for nothing. Make sure you do your job.
Wait, we may have something more for
somebody.
you.
Okay.
So on both appointments, Mr. Chairman, I withdraw my motion, if the second will withdraw it.
I will withdraw mine.
Okay?
And we'll put it on our agenda for next meeting. Next item on our agenda is to discuss the Andover intermunicipal agreement, potable water. Mr. Gilberto, you want to make a comment?
Certainly. So the subcommittee of Selectmen Fode and Masseri did meet last week on Wednesday afternoon with the Public Works Director and the Water Superintendent. Some 90 minutes or so of productive discussion. The subcommittee is in the process of reviewing potential changes to the intermunicipal agreement to potentially be reported back to the town of Andover. I expect to be able to conclude that review in the next couple of days to identify a potential alternative to be submitted back to the town of Andover.
Any comments? Kinder Morgan Tennessee Gas Pipeline update. We had town administrator, we had the fire chief, we had our town
Engineer.
engineer, we had selectmen
O'Leary and Yule.
Larry and Yule.
And yourself?
It was just an open, basically an open forum type meeting. I had representatives only from Kinder Morgan. The presentation was very informal. They had documents, people to talk to. They had charts up on the wall. There's maps of the proposed pipeline, I think, that are a little more accurate than what we've received in the past. I handed out copies to everybody today, but I know several of the members that attended had copies. My understanding is that the town engineer is working on getting a more detailed map with a list of all the properties.
That's correct, yes.
So the objective here is to actually have a list of every lot, the owners of those lots, some of them are town lots, at least to get some idea of the total impact. I mean, the map shows a line going through, but it'd be nice to know how many people are impacted, because I think when it comes down to dealing with the issue of minimizing the impact, it would be good to know just how many citizens in the community are impacted, and if there are alternative suggestions, how we could alleviate some of that impact. FERC was not present, and what was very interesting was that they were present to all the previous meetings. And although I can't say this was fact, but it had something to do with weather.
Kinder Morgan reported in response to our inquiries, that FERC was unable to get to Boston because of weather in Washington, D.C. Again, that's reported by Kinder Morgan. They were not able to make it.
Is that considered to be a reliable source?
I'm not going to comment on the reliability, but
That's
that
what
was
I
reported.
said. It was. We had talked about putting together a letter to our federal legislator complaining to the fact that in this particular meeting that was required by FERC, that the communities that were asked to meet didn't have the opportunity to query FERC or express any opinions to FERC. So, Michael, you want to comment on that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. After the open house, you and I had a discussion with regard to this, and I did speak with staff in Congressman Seth Moulton's office. Jennifer, in his Peabody office, explained the scenario to her that it was, unfortunately a situation where there was an opportunity, and unfortunately the opportunity may have been lost. Certainly understand that Kinder Morgan wouldn't necessarily have wanted to reschedule based on FERC not being available, and what I assume was late notice, but I don't know that for certain. But the Congressman was sympathetic, his office was sympathetic to the concern. I think the challenge is I don't really know what the alternative is to fix this, because the open house has been held. There are other open houses that will be happening, but they won't be unique to our geographic area. They're either in New Hampshire or in the central part of the state. So I don't think that it would be reasonable to expect North Reading residents to attend those open houses for additional information. But I can certainly report that there was certainly concern on the part of the Congressman's office.
Any comments?
Yeah, I'm gonna,
Jeff and then Steve.
okay.
No, I defer.
Okay, yeah, I was disappointed that FERC was not there as well. I do have some information I want to pass over to you. We did have a meeting with the Northeast Municipal Gas Pipeline today, and I wanted to give you kind of a summation of that meeting. Would you mind passing it down for me?
Thank you, Jeff.
And give one to Bob.
Joe needs one.
What's that?
Joe needs one.
Oh, sorry, Joe. That's okay. Thank you.
Give it on mine.
There's things that come across when we're in these meetings, we discuss a variety of things, and one of the things that came up is the concern about the Constitution of the Commonwealth, Article 97, which is the land and easement transfer. And what that involves is there's a possibility of the state to approve the land swap to allow the building of the Tennessee pipeline. I don't remember what town is referenced, but any town that's affected that wants to swap a parcel of land for another parcel of land, okay, like parcel of land, will, to help the pipeline be constructed, that can be done, okay? But you're not supposed to lose anything in the swap. It's supposed to be an even swap from what I understand. I'm sorry?
Swap with who?
But if there's a parcel of land, and I guess this would be more applicable to town-owned land, if there's say it's supposed to go through forest land, all right? And you have forest land in different areas of the town, all right? You can take where the pipeline is going to go, you can take that parcel of land and swap it for another parcel of land, allowing the pipeline to go through, whereas the forest is protected by the Constitution of the Commonwealth, that parcel of land right now. But you can, the Senate can say, all right, we're going to allow that land to be swapped for another piece of land, town-owned land. Okay, and that's known as Article 97.
I guess I'm not getting it.
Well, okay.
Can you think of an example?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you have, you can think conservation, you can think forest. If those properties, any property protected by Article 97, all right, well.
So a wetland, let's say.
That's right, okay? And if you want, and that's where they have the pipeline going. All right, both the House and the Senate of the state can pass a bill allowing a land swap for where the pipeline is going to go with another piece of land within the town. So that exempts that parcel of land that was once protected by Article 97 to be no longer protected by Article 97. And that is required, they need to have a 2/3 vote by the state, the Senate, and by the House of Massachusetts.
I don't know, when I looked at the map, right, the pipeline's going through wetlands in a whole bunch of places, right? I
Yeah.
don't see the benefit of swapping it.
But
for anything.
Article 97 protects that property. So in order for the state to comply with the federal government, they would have to give up they would swap that property so that the pipeline can go through. All right, otherwise FERC is just going to give them the right to, if FERC overrules this, then they will just allow them to put the pipeline regardless of whether it's protected by Article 97 or not. Is that?
Just to add to that, I think that what the selectman is referring to is the matter that we've been, and we've discussed with Representative Jones, and I'm just going to make a comparison. It's not related to Kinder Morgan, but we have a legislation pending to remove a portion of conservation land on Swan Pond Road. It was approved at the October town meeting. The representative advised us very early on in the process that one thing that could potentially come up in discussions is the issue of no net loss, meaning if we were going to take conservation land out of Article 97 protection, would we be asked to put land back in?
Somewhere else, okay.
so
I can
this-
understand that, clearly. But if Kinder Morgan is gonna go right through the wetland, right, I don't want to have to, designate some other part of town as a wetland,
So I think.
when it isn't today.
I think that not to speak for the selectmen, but I think that the issue that is pending at the state level is whether how to handle what could be many requests that could be coming to the legislature for Article 97 action related to the path of the pipeline, and whether or not how to handle them. There have been discussions that have ranged from early on the potential that Kinder Morgan could be granted a blanket federal permit excluding them from Article 97 obligations, which could be very problematic for cities and towns in Massachusetts, or alternatively, that it needs to be done on a case-by-case basis. And the question becomes, well, were the case-by-case basis, would this no net loss apply to that? I think that's the discussion that's happening at the state level. I'm not familiar with the specific pieces of legislation involved, but I think that's the discussion that's happening.
No, I guess the thing that worries me, and maybe it's just the way I'm looking at it, is if Kinder Morgan's going to go through town-owned wetlands, we then have to find some additional wetlands to compensate for the fact that they've gone through the wetlands? That seems to be a double negative on us.
With Article 97, the answer to that would be yes, okay? However, if we, I think what those who are opposed to the pipeline are looking to accomplish, they're looking for support. And they're looking for the Senate, the State Senate, and the State House of Representatives to support them by not allowing Article 97 to be, what's the term?
To waive it.
Right,
Okay.
okay,
Now that makes
so
sense.
they're looking for support in that regard. Now, there's a meeting tonight, and I forget where it is, do you remember
I
where that?
believe it's in Lawrence.
In Lawrence or something like that, where they're gonna have the new Senate President is holding a informational hearing, listening to you got 2 minutes to talk, and everybody could say whatever they want to say and express themselves. And many people with the gas pipeline, from what I understand, will probably be attending that, and to express that and to help get the support from our state representatives and Senate, those in the Senate. So, and it's
But doesn't town meeting have to also give an approval to this, even though they enact Article 97, I think we still as a town, I still think it has to go to town meeting vote.
That's if you're gonna give it up. That's if we're making the request.
Right.
If we are making the request to authorize the easement and all the rest, if we're gonna do it, and it's gonna, and you need to take it out of wetlands, then you've gotta replicate it somewhere else, basically.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you have to have legislative action, which requires a 2/3 vote of the legislature. So you're gonna get it. But what we have here is we have a big conglomerate that's looking to bypass that whole process. So my guess is that in anticipation of a favorable vote from FERC, the legislature's looking to forgive communities the need to find additional properties to designate as conservation.
Okay.
My guess, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That makes
I don't know that
that makes a
Lot
lot
more
more
sense to me
sense.
than,
Yeah.
okay,
I
got
think,
it.
but I don't know.
I don't know that to be the case either,
But that's what I would think, is that the legislature is trying to be a little bit proactive and reactive and proactive at the same time, in basically excusing the Article 97 language that's state law, in anticipation of a federal regulatory agency giving the blessing to say, go ahead and ignore it all.
Yeah.
If that being the case, or they give the approval subject to state regulations, then the state regulations would require, where it's going through the local communities, to go
Right.
ahead and get some additional
Right.
property designated as such, so it's a pretty hairy situation.
Yeah. So if the stand is to maintain Article 97, then, and that ruling comes down to say, based on approval by the state, then the state's in a good position to do that.
As you put it, Mr. Chairman, it's a bad deal all the way around for us. We don't want it in the first place.
Right.
In the second place, you're gonna get it, and if you get it, the state constitutional laws kick in, which require you to even find more conservation land designated as such, and take more, from an assessed valuation.
Yeah, that's
diminish the value of it and cost the town more money.
Now,
You wanna go, you can go on? to the rest?
Go on, yeah, I'll go on. We know what FERC's requirements are a need must be proven, and they may show the need with the contractual obligations. That's FERC. Kinder Morgan,
Well,
obviously.
FERC, is there a deadline, is there a date when this is gonna be done?
Uh,
It continues to be a moving target, and I'm
yeah.
not sure if they've locked this in.
Right now, are we hearing September? Is that,
I thought that's the time
Yeah, I
that
think-
we
I
last
think we're
heard,
hearing
September or
September.
October.
yes, somewhere.
They had that, I took some pictures, I haven't had a chance to,
We had requested back in September at the meeting that we had here, I specifically asked whether they had contracts in place and who were they with and for how much, and we still haven't gotten a response.
Well, I do have a little bit of an
I
answer
see
there.
you have a little bit of information here,
Yeah.
that now supposedly you have some contract, but we
500
don't know with
Go ahead.
whom.
We don't know with whom, that's correct.
We don't know with whom.
I don't even know if they have to divulge that at this point, because they have not formally submitted an application.
They will remain in
FERC
a,
hasn't
Yeah.
determined that it's even gonna happen, so.
Yeah.
If they're doing anything, it's gonna be behind the scenes, and they're gonna probably have,
to clarify, Mr. Chairman, with regard to the deadlines, they're in a pre-filing stage at
Right.
this point through October, then they'll go into a formal filing where the intervenor status will be opened up for people to apply.
Right,
So it'll continue beyond October, the application process.
right, okay, so it's October that
I think it's September, October.
September, October, okay. And it'll probably, it could move. But the contracts that they have is, right now, they have 500,000 per cubic foot in contracts. That's the way it's been presented. Their goal is 800,000 to 2.2 million per cubic foot in contracts. Now, I had the issue, and I spoke to the TA about this, that there supposedly is the capacity to handle the increase already established. And if that's the case, then to me, the argument is you don't need to have a new pipeline, because you already have pipelines that can handle that added capacity that they want to bring in. However, that doesn't seem to matter, because as long as Kinder Morgan has the contracts, it's their contract, so that gives them the authority to, FERC would give them the authority to do so. And there's no limit to the number of pipelines that we can have. That's the scary thing. I don't understand that, but.
No,
there's-
other than FERC isn't going to continually approve one running by the other one, running next to the other one.
Well, this is true, but let's hope so. Okay, following that, elected officials, this is as far as I know so far, is that Elizabeth Warren is opposed, Markey is opposed. I don't know what Seth Moulton's stand is. Did you?
I didn't inquire of his
inquire?
position.
Okay.
I know that they certainly are evaluating the project.
Charlie Baker, our governor, has expressed support, and I don't know what Bruce Torr or Brad Jones's stances are. And I don't know what their stances are on Article 97 at this point. And I will inquire about that with them. And then as far as we are concerned, and this is just a subjective perspective, but our immediate concerns are the integrity of our sovereignty, property rights, property values, our water, safety. Our role can be, we'd be an intervener on behalf of the town. And the question is, how do we feel about making a statement reflecting support or non-support? And I don't think we're there at this point. And then a letter to Kinder Morgan refusing access to town-owned land. That's something that we can do in support of our residents and in support of the sovereignty of North Reading.
now, we have received a formal request to go on.
We have
town
received
land.
a formal request. I had requested the board to suspend taking any action on it until we received information about the route from Kinder Morgan. We did receive that information, and we have mapped it out. Had some discussions with the selectmen who were at the open house, and we're adjusting that map to present it to the board to review and be aware of the route, and to make a decision with regard to allowing access or not on the route. But they did provide us information, and we should have that ready for the next meeting.
And when do you think would be appropriate for us to?
I think that we would be, the map will be ready before the next meeting. I think that we were awaiting a comment from the Conservation Commission regarding some wetlands in the town that I'm not aware that we've received yet. That would be the only last piece holding up a vote. If we receive it by the next meeting, we could have it scheduled for the next meeting. If we don't, then we could push it to the next meeting after
So
that.
this has been forwarded to the Conservation Commission?
That's correct, yes.
Mr. Chairman? Our next meeting for the Northeast Municipal Gas Pipeline is the first Monday in,
I believe it's the second.
yeah,
I apologize. Monday, March 16th.
Monday, March 16th, okay. Are we meeting on that date?
We are not.
No.
Meeting on the 23rd, right?
Correct.
So I would suggest that we do this make a decision on it by the 23rd.
Well, I don't think we're in any hurry to do anything at this point, are we?
Well, I thought that was your question.
Well, that's what I was just asking.
I mean, I know Kinder Morgan followed up today, and they're asking for the status of the request, and I'll advise them that we appreciate the information and that we'll schedule it as soon as the board's agenda permits and the information is available from the
I
relevant town
sent them a note
departments.
saying we didn't have an opportunity to talk to FERC. Why not?
So-
It's not a lie.
So I guess the question that I have in going forward is, you know, obviously, we will be interveners. I have to assume that we will be interveners as a board. And again, individually, people can be interveners as well. Keep that in mind. But, you know, I guess the question is, what we need to, the two things that we need to consider is the statement reflecting either support or non-support for the pipeline, and the letter to Kinder Morgan refusing access to town-owned land. We tried to get a copy of a template on to do that, and I'm still working on that, along with the TA. So I guess that's, you know, where we are.
Mr. O'Leary, you were going to make a comment?
Yes, please. Again, I think the hors d'oeuvres were pretty good the other night, but, you know, as far as the other information that was available, I mean, this is the first time we've actually seen a map, and we've had requests out for months. I think that Kinder Morgan has been, you know, relatively unresponsive and evasive through this whole process, and I think it's intentional on their part. They're doing everything they have to do, you know, to meet the letters of the laws and regulation of the application process for FERC by having these public hearings. But, I mean, there wasn't any, they had some people there, and I asked them a few questions, and I got passed off to another guy. You know, so...
It wasn't a public hearing.
No, it wasn't a public hearing. There wasn't an awful lot of information other than what was up on the boards, and that's all these other people were basically reiterating was, you know, whatever was on those poster boards all around the room. Yeah, so to me, it's, you know, it was a dog and pony show that they have to do on a regular basis throughout the communities, and it's unfortunate. You know, to me, I think the need that they're expressing, that they're looking to meet, is fabricated. I think they're looking to expand the pipelines, you know, through these communities and to the East Coast here to ship it elsewhere and overseas. They're going to be making billions of dollars on this thing here. And yes, can they supply, you know, more gas to the New England region? I'm sure they will if they could, if they had the pipeline here. But I think the needs of New England, from what I've read, you know, can already be met with what's here. I don't think we need too much more information to express an opinion as to whether or not this need is going to be substantiated. You know, we've asked for the contracts. They haven't given them to us because they don't have to, I guess. At this point, all they have to do is say we have contracts of 500,000 per square foot, whatever it is, and the goal is this and that. But they're still not producing the documentation to the local communities to say, okay, you actually do have contracts, you have a substantiated need, you know, show us, because we don't see it. I mean, we can't even get the local gas company to explain gas lines in North Reading, never mind running this thing through the center of town here. you know, I think what we need to do, and I think this coalition that we're engaged with, you know, is going to be a key to get our elected officials, our federally elected officials and state officials, a little more engaged than what I've heard. I mean, the one that I've heard the most from is Senator Warren. I haven't heard much from anybody else, but she's stated publicly just a few weeks ago. But I think we need, as a board, to get our elected officials engaged, our U.S. senators, our congressmen, our governor, who apparently has come out in support of this, I wasn't aware of that, and our state rep and our state senator, you know, to commit one way or the other. Where are you on this, and why? And to me, if there is a substantiated need, there are other routes that can be taken, and Kinder Morgan is just taking the cheapest route out for themselves. They're having a significant, what they're proposing is a significant adverse impact on most of the communities they're going through, not least of which is North Reading. They are going to be making billions of dollars over a long term. There's no reason why they can't be proposing alternative routes, and why our federal officials and our state officials can't force them to present some other alternative routes. And I think we need to have a united voice here before FERC, and it's unfortunate they weren't there. But I'm sure FERC hears this no matter where they go in the country. I don't know anybody who's really embraced these things. They're going through their community. But there are less intrusive routes that can be taken. I can appreciate, and I do appreciate, the work that's being done here in Town Hall to, once we finally got this information, you know, to do the layovers on the maps and see exactly who's going to be impacted, and put some names and properties, basis to the impacted areas. But I don't need to hear too much more, you know, as far as Kinder Morgan, whether we want Kinder Morgan building through our community, this pipeline. All you have to do is Google them, and they've had a horrendous record of safety throughout the country, and, you know, they end up paying fines. They get sued, they pay fines, you know, the federal government fines, but they keep on going and making billions and billions of dollars. It's just the cost of doing business, and the impact on communities is substantial. So I concur, you know, we need to make a strong statement, whether it be in support or non-support. I would be non-support. We need to request a position on this from our elected officials, which will state our opposition, if that's what we're going to be, opposed to it, and the reasons why, and get them on record as to whether they're in favor or opposed to it, and ask them for a response, not just a boilerplate type letter from us, but I mean demanding a response from them as to where are they on this particular project and what they're going to do to help us. I think now is the time to do it, because Kinder Morgan is very smart, you know, and they're doing it all right, and they're just going to be steamrolling through our communities because they're following the rules according to FERC. So I think we need to take a strong position. I think we need to take it sooner rather than later. I think we need to pin down our elected officials, and I think we need to point out that the proposed builder of this pipeline has an unsatisfactory record from a safety standpoint, from a maintenance standpoint, and that we have no interest in them come through our community. And they should be looking at other alternative routes that would be less intrusive through neighborhoods. I mean, none of these things are safe, but there are other routes that would be safer. I'm not going to be naive to think that that this thing may be approved. You know, may not be approved. It's probably will get approved at some point, but I think we need to just make sure that we propose some alternative routes and make them do the due diligence in proposing those. And the only way we're going to do that is through political pressure from our elected officials at the federal level and the state level. So anytime you're ready to put it on the agenda, I'm ready to take a position.
Okay, well, one of the things, I don't disagree with you from the point of view of, you know, getting the ear of our legislators. I was going to suggest that we take their request that they just made to come on town-owned land and send them a little note saying, it's clear from our point of view that we do not have enough information to say it's justified for you to have a pipeline and list the questions. We haven't seen, you know, where all these contracts are and so on and so forth. Throw the ball right back at them. And, you know, I don't know if there's a need or not, Steve.
Right.
Right, I mean, that's my concern, right? It's clear to me there are better ways, if there was a need, there's certainly better pathways to minimize the impact on, you know, local communities, not only North Reading, but, you know, there's a highway.
Right.
It seems to me they can get to Linfield from Drake down 93 and 128. Oh, yeah, they gotta dig it up, it's gonna cost them a lot of money. It may create some other heartaches, but it won't be in people's direct backyards.
Right.
You know, I think that it's fair to request, you know, how they've arrived at this need. You know, and challenge them. I mean, if their need is to ship it overseas and make money, and that's why they want to run the pipeline, and that's the only reason why they need the pipeline, then
Well, I think that needs to be part of the requested information. How
Yeah.
much of it that you're gonna be pumping through here is actually gonna stay in New England, you know? And, you know, how much of a need in New England is there that they can substantiate, that they're gonna meet, that cannot currently be met, you know, and,
So I think from, you know, our point of view of the land that we control, I'd send a note back to them saying, look, we're not willing at this point to consider giving you permission to come on the land because we don't have enough information.
yeah, the
And
other
this is
thing,
what we're looking for.
the other thing that I think we need to do is we need to look at the current easements through this town for the power lines and what the restrictions are on those. And if they can enter into an agreement with the power company, you know, to get access to those easements. I know they're gonna have to negotiate with each property owner, so to speak, but FERC would potentially allow them to bypass that and just basically take it on an eminent domain basis. To me, if they're negotiating with the other utility, and the other utility is going to embrace the idea, and there's some sort of remuneration being paid to that other utility, to me, there should be some assessed valuation on that utility coming through this town, and there should be more money coming back to North Reading as a result of those, because those are worth millions, if not billions of dollars, the right to access, you know, through those easements. And so I think we need to get a better handle on the easements themselves, you know, for power, what role the power company can play in this by petitioning somebody, by allowing them to run along the same easements, and, you know, have they struck a deal with them? You know, we should know that, you know. We know they're not having much success with the people in North Reading in relation to negotiating with them to even access their property to do the surveying. So there hasn't been any discussion as far as payment for the easements that would be taken from these people and given to Kinder Morgan. So, but when you're talking about billions of dollars over a long period of time, the assessed valuation of the rights to those easements should come back to these communities. If this is gonna be forced down our throats, then some of the profits should be shared with these communities. And they had some $68 million things, you know. Well, that's not very much money when you spread it over the number of communities that are coming through here over a long period of time. It's like buttoning your shirt, your heart's falling out. I'll pay $68 million too to get those rights. You kidding me? It's a heck of a deal. The return on their investment is huge.
So I'm
And,
going to ask, you know, just kind of get a feeling from the board. Are we prepared to say, no, you can't come on our land this evening because of A, B, C, D? Are we prepared to make a motion tonight?
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Mr. Yule and then
I,
Mr. Christopher.
we may, some members may want to, but I think that regardless if one's mind is made up or not, I think we should wait till we have as much information so that our decision is less questioned. All right, and I think that if we wait to March 23rd to do that, even if some members' minds are made up, It is better to still have as much information in our corner when we make a decision than not.
Mr. Prisco.
I'm going to state what I've stated from day one. This board shouldn't take any action at all until we get direction from FERC. We're not required, or there's nothing out there that forces us to do anything until FERC tells us we have to. That's it. It's as simple as that. That's my position, and that's exactly how I'm going to vote and make my decision based on what.
I have a question. What do you anticipate? See, my fear is that if we wait for FERC to give us some direction, it's going to be a directive. It's not going to be direction. It's going to be a directive, not direction. They're not going to be guiding us anyway. They're going to be telling us what's going to be happening to property in our community, based on input.
Do you think that's going to change? If you think you can make it any different by acting now, anticipating?
I've been on the losing end of a lot of causes over the years, and doesn't mean I wasn't on the right side of the issue, and doesn't mean, didn't know I was going in to get my roof beat in either, but to me, it's, I'm certainly not going to wait for FERC, to me, I would rather, I want to hear from our elected officials.
No, hold on, that's not the question that was asked.
I know that, but I'm just saying, to me, that's where we should be taking our direction, and let them tell us, this isn't the way it's going to go, but to me, I don't have to hear from FERC. I want to tell FERC what we believe. I want to tell FERC that I haven't been told enough, again, to the
They go on town-owned land. The question was to let them go on town-owned land. I say we don't let them go on town-owned land until we know what FERC's going to do. That's it. That was the question that was asked, was there not?
What I asked just a minute ago was, are we prepared to make a motion to respond back to Kinder Morgan's request to come on town-owned land by saying no?
Right.
And give him a reason why.
Right. And that's why I stated what I stated. I'm in full agreement with you, Steve, in regards to in your direction, what you would try to do, and try to get the legislation involved. But to answer the question is, we shouldn't be forced to let anybody on town-owned land until we're required by the federal government.
Well, again, I don't have an interest in letting them on there, regardless of what the federal government thinks.
Okay.
I don't have an interest in allowing them to do so because I don't believe there's been a substantiated need. I think it's fabricated. I don't believe that the people who are requesting the information are requesting the right of access to our property. If I were going to engage the contractor to come and lay a pipeline through my community, it wouldn't be Kinder Morgan. All right? Their safety record is atrocious. So if I'm going to do something like this, or I'm going to be forced to do something like this, it wouldn't be with them. So I have no interest engaging in any type of business relationship or allowing them access to take their proposal any further, because I have no interest in doing business with them. They're not reputable.
Okay.
I would choose someone else.
I'm just answering the question that's being proposed.
Right.
I'm not in disagreement with you, what you're trying to say.
As much as we may be interested in assisting in getting natural gas to New England, we'd like to have a better choice as to who we would be engaging in, the business with.
And I want to come back to why I asked the question. The town administrator has reported that they've made a request, and now they're badgering about it. Do we want to respond, or do we want to let them continue to haunt them?
I don't know if they're bad or anything, they asked them twice, but.
So they badgered the people on Damon Street.
Correct.
They didn't badger Town Hall.
Correct.
That's correct.
Yeah.
They were badgering those people.
Town administrator and then Mr. Yule.
So the only comment I would add is, if it's clear that there's a majority of the board that has a desired intention in the direction that we want to handle the request, I would ask for the opportunity to work with town council to draft a letter of response, because Selectman Yule and I have seen that the other communities that have faced this question have done that. They've worked strategically with council to draft a response. So what I would suggest, if there is a consensus as to how we would want to handle the request, we could draft a letter for the board to approve at its next meeting.
We may want to request Kinder Morgan to come in and ask us formally in person rather than writing to. Have them explain to us the substantiated need. Explain to us, why it's town-owned land, you have to go through the route you're taking as opposed to another route. Again, we tried it at that other public hearing, but, the process has moved along a little bit more. We now have a map, which was nice of them to provide, which they didn't have for us initially. They have more information, and they have some contracts, and do they have any agreements on the easements with their power company? I don't know. Why do they have to come onto our town-owned land if we don't even know if they have easements across or agreements with other property owners? Come and ask us. Stand at the podium, come and ask us. We'd be more than happy to discuss it with them. With an open mind.
We have another
An open
opinion
heart.
of what to do.
No,
No, I'm
say
I'm
the-
not,
the-
I'm
The
not.
board would love to have a representative come in here and make a formal request and answer a few questions before we make a formal decision.
How many people like that idea?
I can't stand it. I don't like the idea at all. I don't need them to come in here. I already know what they're gonna say. I don't need to waste my time with them standing in front of me, because it's gonna do us no good.
They're not gonna
See,
come
I don't,
anyway.
I don't,
They're not gonna come
that
anyway.
part I don't agree with necessarily.
No.
The more they're out in public, and the more that they have to talk publicly, I think it plays into our hand a little bit better. You know, let them talk. Right now, they're not talking. They're avoiding.
They're not likely
there's-
to
they don't have a
show up
requirement.
for
They're not
our
gonna come.
request
Yeah.
either.
They don't have a requirement.
They're not required
There's
to.
no requirement
They
for us
knocked
to
on those
even be
people's doors.
considering this.
But to Steve's point, that you ask the question and leave it at that, because if you don't ask the question, you're not going to get it. You may not get an answer anyway.
My guess is they won't come.
Yeah, that's
Let's
right.
find
But
out.
ask
Yeah.
the question. I think that's his point. Just ask the question. Just
Invite them.
it's a piece of paper and some ink. That's all.
Show you're awful
The
quiet.
members of the board have some questions, have some
I'm prepared
questions.
to vote no, so.
But
I think we're spending a lot of time on, I think what we all agree is gonna be our answer, but, you know, I know the town administrator asked that we hold off until next meeting.
I would like to have a sense of what the letter we're preparing
Yeah.
would indicate, and I think that I have a sense based on the discussion, but I don't want to make any presumptions.
And the other thing is, some of the other towns have submitted a letter to Kinder Morgan, and Kinder Morgan wrote back and said, based on what you put in that letter, and we didn't have to, you know, it means nothing to us, for lack of a better choice of words. But they rewrote the letter, they went to council, and they haven't heard back that they can accept the letter, okay? So, but I just needed to clarify something that I said before with regard to Governor Baker. He has stated in January that he's in support for pipeline projects. He didn't say that he was in support necessarily of Kinder Morgan, and I might have alluded to that in
How many
the way-
proposals are there?
Okay. Well, there's Spectra is another one. So and I believe there might be a third one. I'm not 100% sure. So there are pipeline projects coming our way.
I'm for expanding pipelines in North Reading to residents, so they can have an option. We can't even get that from the gas company, you know, so we don't need this other.
All right, so we're all over the yard tonight.
Well-
I kind of like the idea of drafting a letter. I think the consensus here is no to this request,
This moment, yeah.
right? I think it's a majority.
We don't have a requirement.
No to
So-
the request? Is that what you said?
No,
Requested to come on town.
to come on town-owned land. So I think it's reasonable to ask, as Mike Gilberto has suggested, to have town council draft a letter, and we will approve it at our next meeting and send it off.
Right.
Everybody okay with that?
I think we also need to get the administration to assist the board and the chair to send letters off to our elected officials, seeking their guidance, their position, and indications as to what they see is happening.
Now,
We're
I'd like
meeting
to see
Thursday
them come here,
morning. We can talk about that?
Yes.
right? I'd like to see them come here, Steve. I'd like to see Senator Starr and Representative Jones come to this meeting and stand here in front of us in the public, and let's have this open dialogue, because I think we'd have a much better exchange than we would sending them letters.
Oh, I think we should send a letter to all of them and request their presence there.
Yeah.
Let them come and
That's-
talk to us.
I'll-
I'm
Full
all
support of that
United
idea.
States Senators, go for it.
Michael and I will take it as an action item. We are meeting Thursday morning,
Mhm.
and we'll come up with something, okay?
What's, Thursday morning? Okay. Well,
The chair, Michael.
Mr. Yule.
I do have a question about that suggestion. If only a couple of our representatives come, it's unfair to them, because I don't know what the position is, if the others don't come. There's an imbalance. So if someone like Markey that decides not to come, all right,
I'll send a representative.
yeah, as long as they have a representative, but I think it needs to be all or none, to be quite frank with you, because I don't think it's.
I can't force them.
Of course, you can't force them, but you can
But the-
put the parameters
I
there.
thought we were talking about our
did
state
too.
representative in our state.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Same.
talking
No,
about
they're
federal officials.
federal
I'm talking
officials,
I'm
too.
talking the United States senators, and I'm talking our congressmen.
It's really the
But I'm
federal
talking our
guys
governor.
that are important here, really, when you think about it.
You know, I'm talking the governor. I'm talking the governor, I'm talking the United States senators, I'm talking our congressmen. And we have a right to know where they stand on this issue. As a board, as citizens, as, you and I, individually. So, and we as a board, I think, have a responsibility to help flush out where our elected representatives are on this issue. And we can invite them to a meeting, come and send a representative from the congressman from his office, and the United States Senate from their office, if they can't make it themselves, and state the position of our elected officials in this particular matter. And I'm sure they have spent an inordinate amount of time and resources researching it, more than we have. They have more resources at their disposal than we do, particularly our federal officials, with FERC and everybody else. And maybe they can enlighten us as to what the prospects are of, getting the route changed, or not. And, they don't have to tell me what I want to hear. Just tell me something and tell me where you are on the issue, and from your position and what you know and the research you've done, what are the prospects and what do you think is going to happen? And I don't think that's unreasonable for this board to ask of our elected officials. If they don't want to respond that way, and they don't like the question, then too bad. It's like anyone else. A constituent calls us on something. I don't tell them everything they want to hear. Sometimes I have to say, sorry, And that's what happens. You don't want to give the answers sometimes to the questions. You shouldn't be sitting here. So,
Maybe we can invite them and some of our adjoining communities that are impacted to a meeting.
Well, trust me, if they hear that we're having them here, they'll come.
Well, not here, maybe at the high school or something.
auditorium. In the distance learning lab.
and, see if we can get that coordinated, and, we'll use the high school auditorium as a focal point, so,
The distance learning lab may be big enough.
could be. Yeah. But I think the time is now. I mean,
Yep.
the clock is ticking. Kinder Morgan is going through all the motions they have to go through to get this thing approved, and just basically say to FERC, everybody's turned us down and won't give us the approval to come on. They probably even survey the land, so therefore, we need your approval to come in, step over them, grant us the easements and the right to do it, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking for no's across the board. They can anticipate no's across the board.
All right.
Okay.
Michael and I will discuss it on Thursday morning, and we'll follow up at our next meeting.
Great.
With a plan, which we'll have an opportunity to discuss and approve or disapprove.
Okay. Thank you.
Pull the agenda back up, sorry.
MSBA statement of interest.
Yeah. We can pass that over, I understand you want to,
That's correct. There was a question with regard to the vote taken at the last meeting and whether we needed to make an amendment to the motion. We've since communicated through the superintendent of schools with the MSBA, and no further action is required.
Oh, I didn't mumble or anything, did I?
No, sir. It was not in your delivery of the written motion.
Okay.
And I'm unfortunately in the position of having a dead iPad battery, so
You're welcome to use mine if you want
there's
me to
one
read
that I
your
could use
report.
to read for the town administrator's report, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
opposite, yeah.
Here it is, Joe, ready up.
Thank you. So just a couple of things to note this evening. The first is that, as the board members are aware, and has been publicized in the past couple of days, 20th Century Fox is preparing to film scenes in North Reading for an upcoming movie production. There have been multiple planning and coordinating meetings occurring between 20th Century Fox and town departments in recent weeks. Attached to my report is a letter from the Chief of Police outlining what the public can expect over the course of a few dates in March, specifically March 2nd through March 4th, March 9th, March 10th, and again on March 23rd. There'll be road closures of Winter Street for through traffic between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. Local residents and businesses will be able to access Winter Street via Park Street. Emergency vehicles and school buses will also be able to access Winter Street via Park Street. The police department will be on site to assist with traffic flow. Detour signs and digital displays have been posted beginning today to notify the public and to provide alternative routes. The police department is urging all residents and business owners to seek alternate routes during these times, and motorists should expect delays. In this note, which we will post if we have not already on the town website, there is a there's a website being maintained by 20th Century Fox that will be updated on a regular basis with regard to filming, so the public can see the most up-to-date information. As the board members may have noted, even from when I wrote the report on Thursday to today, the dates that they were filming have changed, and that's due to a variety of factors.
Okay, I'm just gonna comment on that because, you know, being a community that is sought after for a lot for movies, we've had 14 movies in the last 10 years. Sometimes you don't know till the day before. It changes quite often, and it's very frustrating, but unfortunately, they may get a day of rain someplace else, and it pushes the whole calendar off. So be prepared for several different changes.
Thank you, Selectmen. I appreciate the feedback and the indication here. The track record here is as such that it seems to be changing.
Can you say one thing on that? No, I don't.
Through the chair.
To the chair.
What I was gonna tell you is, I've been involved in that industry a little bit, and what I would suggest, you might wanna go when talking to Fox about it. I don't know who the casting company is, it's probably Boston Casting, or I'm not really sure exactly what the film is.
Excuse me.
Tell them you want to, there'll be a lot of background needs, tell them you want them out of their hair. And, because they'll pay people, you know, it's not short money, but you can go to them and get the background from here, instead of them importing people from all over. So you can bring that to their attention, they'll probably do it.
Thank you for that feedback. Appreciate that.
Thank
Don't
you.
mean to keep interrupting.
Just continuing with the update, 20th Century Fox and North Reading Police will continue to coordinate efforts to minimize any negative effects the production may cause. Again, updates and other related information will be provided on the North Reading Police Department website, as well as the Police Department social media. And again, there'll be a link to the 20th Century Fox website on the town website for the public to update themselves. The other thing that I'll note is that they have made arrangements to utilize a portion of Ipswich River Park in early March for staging for crew. The park will remain open to the public. There will be designated parking areas for the public, for those who might be using it for winter recreation purposes. And they have made detailed arrangements with the Parks and Recreation Commission. There are some businesses that will be impacted with regard to this, and the impact upon those businesses has been handled privately between 20th Century Fox and those businesses, and we've been assured that the needs of by 20th Century Fox, that the needs of the property owners are being considered, particularly those that are affected by the road closures. Again, as the Selectmen identified, this will be something that will potentially evolve depending upon weather and any other factors that might be happening. Folks probably saw today, again, the signage went up. They started painting the former Heffron garage, which will be used in the shooting, and we'll continue to work with them as things happen. I'll also note that any and all of the costs associated with this production are being borne by 20th Century Fox. That includes police details, when necessary, the locating of fire department personnel to serve the west side of town from a remote location, the signage that's involved, any of the costs associated with this, they're paying. And I know Selectman Messeri, I don't know if there's an additional comment you want to make, or you want to make that comment later on during old and new
No,
business?
I'll make it now. I've also been informed that they're making a $2,000 donation to the community impact team.
In Parks and Rec, they're making a donation too?
Parks and Recs, I think they're paying for use of the,
They're also paying a $3,000 fee to utilize Ipswich River Park as well. So a total of $5,000 to North Reading causes that will be coming in
Oh,
to town.
the
Three-
CIT will
better.
put that, the CIT will put that money to good
Yeah.
use.
The second item that I will note in the updated report is that, as I think some of the board members are aware, and I've received the formal copy of his notice, the superintendent of town buildings, John Welsh, has advised the town of his intention to retire effective June 30th, 2015. He'll certainly be here for a few more months, but I'd like to recognize, with this notice being public, I'd like to recognize Mr. Welsh for his 18 years of service overseeing the town's buildings. He's kept the lights on and the heat on and the walkways clear for our municipal buildings in all kinds of weather and with limited resources. He's also been an integral part of the capital planning efforts for town buildings. John will be missed, and he's offered to work with the town as we transition to a new building superintendent. And I would note that, as you'll see, the fiscal year 2016 town administrator's budget recommendation proposes changes to the table of organization in the DPW building's budget to reflect the upcoming transition. And those proposals will be discussed further at the budget hearing on Saturday morning. And an additional note with regard to Mr. Welsh, I can tell you that I received positive feedback from the food pantry that on the Monday of the President's Day holiday last Monday, when we were just a half a day or so out from a significant snowstorm, building was able to be open to serve the needy, and that was after it was required to be closed for a previous week due to weather. So that was largely in part to John's efforts to coordinate resources here, again on a day when the building would have otherwise been closed for a legal holiday. So I'd like to recognize it for that particular instance. The other final thing, which is not in my written report that I'd like to take up with the board, is with regard to the issue of sidewalks and snow removal on sidewalks. There was a previous discussion with regard to the enforcement of the existing sidewalk bylaw and the concerns that would come about given the volume of snowfall that has fallen in the past 4 weeks. I've spoken with the police chief and with the public works director with regard to this today, and one alternative that we've identified is to have the public works department clear the sidewalks on Main Street rather than leave it in the hands of residents. And that's something we look at with an eye towards the amount of snow and the unique nature of this particular winter, as well as the fact that there is, we hope, warm weather will be on the horizon and more people may be outside and utilizing the sidewalks. We have an option that's been presented by the Public Works Director to clear that sidewalk along Main Street. It would come with a cost. It would be an estimated cost of between $8,000 and $10,000. It's something that the police chief is recommending that I think that we ought to proceed with, but I certainly wanted to discuss with the board prior to proceeding. And this would need to be paid through the snow and ice removal budget, which, as we know, is in deficit at this point in time.
Are we talking about doing this during normal working hours, or are we talking about proposal doing it on off hours or overtime?
The bulk of the work would be done on off hours, generally in the evenings,
Where where's this?
on Main Street, the sidewalks on Main Street.
Do we have a snow farm where we're actually
We do.
trucking?
DPW garage.
Okay, but I'm just thinking if business owners, could we offer the utilization of that lot for business owners to bring it to also? The responsibility, bylaw still rests with the business owners, but we could help facilitate that if we have a place for their contractors to bring it.
I think the only concern I'd have is just managing to ensure that it's coming from within North Reading. I don't know how much, I mean, I looked at Selectman Fode, I don't know how much ongoing snow removal is happening in any of the affected urban areas at this point, or whether that's subsided.
Every single night.
Every night, yeah.
Every single night. I have, 5 nights a week.
Wow.
I have guys on 19 hours a day.
Hmm. So the only concern I would have is obviously the regulation of ensuring that it's only coming from within.
So there's
North Reading.
basically, I'm assuming there's a need actually to haul the snow out, not just snow blow it. There's no place to snow blow it.
You've got to move it.
Yeah,
There's some places that maybe you could. but-
Right, I think it's going to be a combination of both. I didn't ask that question of the Public Works Director, but just thinking of the landscape, I think you can have a combination of both.
That's why I asked, whereabouts, on both sides?
Yeah. I don't know that it would be on both sides. I'd have to check with him.
Not in favor.
Well, if we don't remove it, it's gonna be there for a long time.
Yeah,
Uh,
but we have to pay for it?
Well, and that's the question. Maybe we can come up with some kind of a program. Come up with some offsetting charge.
I can consult further with the Public Works Director. I mean, I didn't want to ignore the suggestions, so I wanted to bring it up. And again, it came up today.
How are we doing in relation to the rest of the community sidewalks that we normally do? 62.
They,
They-
I know
most
they're
of
doing a lot.
To the
yeah.
schools, you know, they're required by law, they have to do to the schools. I know on Park Street, they've done pretty well. So, yeah, I think the town has fulfilled its obligation.
done a great
And
job.
they may have done in front of, I don't know who did in front of Stop and Shop, the old Stop and Shop. That looks like that was done, from what I could see. I don't know.
I'm not aware that we did
Yeah.
that particular area.
Look, yeah, it would only be us, so that's why I was wondering, that was my observation. Some of the businesses on 28 have done their sidewalks. Some of them have done it. Eastgate has done it.
Wouldn't be right for us to pay
And
for it.
I don't remember the address of the, on 28, one of the apartment buildings, they've done it. So a few of the businesses have, but many of them have not. Now, in traveling to Pepperell this morning, you could see all of the towns have had all their sidewalks cleared. And I was in Middleton the other night, and their sidewalks were cleared. So, you know, efforts are made, you know, to get it done. And if you stay on top of it, the businesses, if they had stayed on top of it, they wouldn't have the problem that we're in. And they, by not doing it, they're costing us money.
Right, that's why I couldn't, I mean,
So
we have
so
companies that made the
that's the
investment
issue there.
to keep up with it, and the others didn't. Now we're gonna turn around and bail them out. I would have a really difficult time doing it. I just don't think it would be fair.
Yeah, I mean, we're punishing the companies that did it already.
We're rewarding the ones that just neglected it.
The alternative I'd suggest is that we proceed with the normal enforcement strategy we would take, which is to issue the notices.
I mean, another option is, why can't we just send a letter to those businesses that haven't done it and provide them, you know, tell them, you either have 30 days to, or 20 days, or 10 days to get it cleared, or we're gonna do it, and you're gonna get, and we're gonna put a lien on your property, and we're gonna bill you. We can do that. We have to meet the law.
I certainly don't disagree. That's a great proposal. I just would want to check on our capability to be able to recover the costs.
Yeah, I don't know if our bylaw provides for that.
All right,
Bylaw
so-
provides
But
for
I think it's a
fines.
tremendous suggestion. It's something we should look at at town meeting.
Mike, I think a bylaw provides for fines for
Yeah, but you can-
non-compliance, not better, you know, not.
Right, but you can find them every day that they don't comply.
Oh, I know.
Right.
But-
So, you know,
But we-
we've cut everybody's slack because it was
Right.
one after another.
Sure.
So maybe a notice to go out saying you have the next 7-10 days to get the sidewalks clear.
Who does the notice though, Bob? Right, because now there's
Enforcement officers.
it's another administrative burden back on the
Come
administration.
from the police department.
And it's gotta go back out, and then somebody's gotta follow up on it. I'm done
Well, I
with it.
mean-
I'm not in favor of sending out any more notices. These are adults that are running businesses. I mean, it sucks, the situation we're in. It's either we overall as a board just give across-the-board relief, or we enforce it.
And again, you're a businessman too, Michael, and for some of these businesses, small businesses, they've been impacted economically because of the weather conditions too. So it's a financial hardship also. And again, I'm not making excuses for them. So, maybe the alternative is, if you do it on a per-foot basis, if the town wants to provide the service and offer the service on a frontage basis, if they've got a formula that they can work out, rather than hiring a contractor, we expect compliance by such and such a date, the town is availing themselves to you the opportunity for a cost per square, per linear foot, and then,
The only
get it
issue-
done.
The only issue with that is if you don't get enough who want to utilize the town, is it worth our while to go out and do it? If we're going to call guys in at 9 o'clock at night and there's only.
No, it's certainly much easier to
Right.
run a straight line and do it rather than
Right.
cherry picking the lots.
But you have to give them the option.
Let's cherry pick the opportunity and then, have them comply and.
I just want to make sure.
It's tough because, especially where I'm working, but we have a lot of city-owned sidewalks and we're just finishing up ours. I mean, just based on what, on what we've encountered over the last 4 weeks. But that being said, we are enforcing. People don't shovel.
Mr. Prisco?
If we clear the sidewalk in front of a business, do we assume the reliability of the safety of the sidewalk now?
It's already in a public way.
I'm not sure that the liability would change. We may.
Okay, just want to make sure.
I share the frustration, for sure. I mean, there's no easy answer with regard to this. And I think that we should consider looking at the bylaw to provide a mechanism to recover the costs. Because it may be more efficient for us to just go out and do it and recover the costs.
And the bottom line is, we have an obligation to the residents to
Right.
make sure they can get from one place
We
to
should
another.
give them an ample opportunity to get it done, realistic opportunity to get it done. But if they can't, then we should be required to go off and we'll do it, but they're gonna have to pay for it.
Yeah.
But if we could try to, if we have to
This
change,
gets
make a
back-
bylaw
This
change,
gets
then.
back to the need to send a notice out saying now we're not gonna have another storm on Sunday, according to the weatherman, or Monday.
Can you believe it? 7 straight days, I didn't
Right?
see any snow.
It's time to get the sidewalk clean, and we expect those to be cleaned by the end of next week, and if they're not, we will begin to impose fines.
May need an excavator to do it.
Mr. Chairman,
Stuff's gonna be rock solid.
if I may, we have sent notices to the businesses, so they're beyond the warning and stuff like that, correct?
We give them a buy.
The notices were sent prior to the blizzard, and then
Right.
after the 4 successive storms, we've not been enforcing with regard to it based on the volume of snow.
Right. I mean, I know that I had mentioned, it's time to
And it wasn't just that.
Yes,
it
you
was-
did soften up.
Yeah, I did.
It wasn't
I
just
saw
that, it
that,
was-
but I watched it.
Try to wrap it up.
So, but I mean, they're at the point now, they've been notified sufficiently where it's really a matter of now you either move it or pay for it.
Enough time's passed.
Right. That's what I'm asking.
How easy it is to send a note out to all the businesses, give them
What's
until
generally
next...
happened is it's actually, in the past, it's been face-to-face conversation. The police officer have gone out, looked at the routes, and gone into the businesses and said, you need to do this. It generates a faster response. It's maybe a little more, a
Right.
bit of a compelling conversation. So that's what I probably would suggest we do again with regard to this. Go out, advise people that they have 7 days to comply, and that if they haven't complied in the 7 days, that they'll be issued, they'll be held accountable under the bylaw.
Okay.
Make it retroactive?
Can everybody live with that, and can we move on?
I don't know if they've
Yep.
already done it.
Let's move on.
Okay,
Yeah.
anything else, Michael?
No, sir, thank you.
We're going to change the order. Mr. Fode?
Thanks. Seems like I haven't been here for a while.
Did you have-
I haven't, unfortunately, based on my full-time job. I've been handling snow for the last 5 weeks. In an effort not to delay the announcement, I asked the chairman at the last meeting to announce the fact that I would not be seeking reelection. Several factors in that, and some personal, some professional. I do want to say it's been a very good 3 years. I've enjoyed myself thoroughly. And I want to thank the residents of North Reading for giving me this opportunity. It really has been a pleasure. And under different circumstances, I probably would want to do this again for at least one more term. But there have been a lot of things over the last 10 months that have contributed to my decision not to run. And the most recent is, for those of you who don't know, I know most of the people on the board know, the city manager in Chelsea has left the city to become Secretary of Housing and Economic Development, and he was one of my biggest supporters in me doing this. He made it easy for me to be here when I needed to be here. If I had a meeting in Chelsea, he would either cover it for me, or he would reschedule it to a different night, any night that I had to be before the city council or anything like that. So I don't know who's coming in to take his place, and I don't think I should be presumptuous and assume that that person is going to have give me that same leeway. I think that was a deciding factor in the last point that made my decision what it is. Again, I've enjoyed myself thoroughly. I think we're in a good place right now. We're fortunate enough to have a town administrator that gives us input and participates, and I think that's something that we should be proud of that we've done, and bringing him here. And so I want to thank you, Michael, for coming in, for the support you've given me in the time that you've been here. You do this, and it's never easy. It's a lot of hours, and I think one of the things I want to say to my colleagues on the board is, regardless of whether we've agreed with each other or not agreed with each other over the course of the last 3 years, I want to thank you for the effort that you guys put in on a regular basis. Doing it myself and firsthand, I realize how much work it really is, and you have to have a real love for what you do to do it. And so from me as a resident leaving in the next 5 weeks, I want to thank all of you gentlemen for what you do also. And I'll have more to say in my last meeting coming in April, but I wanted to make sure that I got that out tonight. And the purpose, again, of me having Bob do it a week and a half ago and not doing it personally was I didn't want to delay the fact that if someone else wanted to pull papers, given that announcement, to give them an opportunity to do it sooner rather than later. So, again, thank you all. Appreciate it.
Anything else, Jim?
That's it for me. Thank you.
Mr. Yule?
Well, I'm disappointed that you are leaving. I think you've been a credit to the board. You represented the town well. You stood for things that you believed in, and represented your constituents well. So I respect that and I admire that.
Thank you.
Okay. Other than that, I don't really have anything else to say. That's the most important thing.
Mr. O'Leary?
I'll echo the sentiments. And again, I was disappointed when the chairman made the statement on your behalf, because I've found you to be a valuable resource for this board. A lot of it quietly behind the scenes, and your knowledge and expertise and your contacts through state government, and it's invaluable. And I think in 3 years, I've seen you grow in the position significantly, embrace the issues that are before us, and a significant contributor to it all. And so the town will be at a loss. And again, I was hoping to see you run again. But I understand. I've been there before. I've had to make those decisions too. And family first, you have to do that. And but the best of luck to you. And again, I appreciate your effort and what you put in. And hopefully you get yourself freed up and consider doing some more later on.
Yeah,
that's right. Economic Development Commission. Yeah. But put your application.
I'm not going away. I'm just leaving here. So if you need me for anything else, I'm sure I'll.
But I appreciate you. I appreciate your service, and I hope that we'll be able to benefit from it in the future.
Thank you.
That's it, Mr. Chairman.
That's it. Mr. Prisco?
I was one of the ones that coaxed Joe into doing this, and I'm surprised he still wants to be my friend, but I do value our friendship very much, and I will miss you being on this board, but I know a lot of your value was behind the scenes. People don't get to see the stuff you did on the CIP and the things you continue to do on our infrastructure work. I would hope, Joe, that when things settle out for you and you got those opportunities and you think you can squeeze in, at least to continue to give us a little bit of your support on the CIP, I'd love to see you stay on our CIP, because since Joe's come on the board and I've been here 5 years and he's been here 3, our CIP has gone a long way. Really have come a long way, and a lot of that is the efforts you brought forward and the ideas and lessons learned you have working in other municipalities. So, I hope if you could try to do anything at all, if you could try to continue to give us your guidance there, it would be a big help for the town, and then also with the water. Since you left our water commission, we haven't had a meeting. So if there's anywhere else you can give us continue to give us some assistance, if you can help us, we're going to need it with the water, because you truly have the resident knowledge there. And I thank you, though, for your commitment, not only here, but throughout the Commonwealth. I know you do other things other than just North Reading. So I only have a couple other things to add, not related to Joe. I'm going to hold some comments to this last night, and I got a couple funny things I'd like to say at that particular night. Dollars for Scholars, it's that time of year again. They've requested to come in on March 9th. I hope we can add them to the agenda early that particular night. I think it's a budget hearing night, is it? No.
There's also the disciplinary hearings for.
Yeah. They'd like to come. If that's a bad
Licensees.
night, but see, they have a timetable.
Right.
If we can try to squeeze them in, they'll be quick.
We can squeeze them in.
Yeah.
They don't.
5 students and Mr. Teresi will
We
be
should
here.
Squeeze them in.
So, and I will pass that back to
They
Mr.
have a
Teresi.
week, that
Yeah.
campaign, they want to get launched.
So if we could do that on March 9th, I'm sure they would be very appreciative. As everyone knows, the cold weather and the difficult snow and ice continue on. Try to go out and buy rock salt right now, where it's very difficult. Can somebody just clarify for me, maybe the town administrator can clarify, the town residents have an opportunity to go to our own barn and collect some rock salt for their driveways and walkways to make them safe? Is that something, I heard rumors that we did this, that we offer this, or can I get a clarification? Is this?
I need to verify with the Public Works Director. I apologize for not having the answer readily at
Oh,
hand.
no,
I'm aware
I'm
of
catching you
sand.
cold on it, so.
I'm aware of sand, but I'm not necessarily aware of salt.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, we can verify that and put an announcement out.
If we could offer some assistance to our residents to swing by and pick a little of this stuff up to keep their walkways and their own driveways safe, I think we should try to do it, because this is a very unusual winter, and if anything little we can do to assist them, because if you go out in any hardware store, you're not gonna find it. It's really drying up out there quickly, so we want to keep our, not only do we want to keep our town-owned property and our sidewalks safe, we want to help assist our residents, especially our elders, senior citizens, giving them some ability to put a little sand and salt down in their sidewalks to help them be able to get in and out of their homes. I would like to be able to offer them, pull up in their car, fill up a 5-gallon bucket or whatever they need. I would hope we can consider doing that. I hope the board would support that. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mike. Well, Joe, it's been, and I'm sure you're going to be around for another few weeks, but it's really been a pleasure working with you. Steve being the longest serving selectman at this point, but I think he can relate to some of my comments, is that, I've been on the board now for going on 11 years, and there've been a number of changes. And we've had some difficult times on occasion, but every board member that comes on with new ideas. And I think that's what makes the town work. And you can get stuck in a rut, being on the board for a long time, you get set in ideas. When a new member comes on board with other ideas, I think it's very helpful. And, I'm not advocating for term limits at this point in time, but we've had enough turnover to allow that to happen. And you've brought here with us is your experience as a DPW director and our quest for a new source of water, and some of the ideas associated with capital has been mentioned, has been very invaluable to the community and to the board itself. And you will be missed.
Thanks, Bob.
And I treat you always as a friend.
Absolutely.
And I won't be bashful about calling you downstream saying, we're getting this water connection, but we need some better advice about something we're doing or some help, and I'm quite confident that you would respond.
Be my pleasure. I'm
So
not
much
going away,
appreciated.
just leaving.
Very,
here.
very much appreciated, and you will
Thank
be
you.
missed. Just a couple of things. With all the snow we have, and I guess, over the weekend, after we had that little bit of snow and it warmed up and it was actually melting,
Yes,
it was like, wow. My
Yeah.
driveway turned black, because I
Yeah.
had a lot of salt, by the way.
So you have it.
But the corners are still dangerous.
Yeah.
And now we have the kids back in school, and, they're gonna be out and about at certain hours, and I think we just have to be extra cautious. It's like every time you get to an intersection, you just have to, you wonder. You stick your nose out a little bit and hope that someone's coming the other way is doing the same thing. Second thing is, this has got to do with the new payment system. So I got an email from a gentleman associated with, I think you might have been copied on it, associated with him paying his excise tax bill.
I had a conversation with Mary Ann. I had ran into the same problem
Yeah.
today.
So I decided, well, I'll go and
Pay your bill?
run my 4 excise tax bills through.
Can't do it.
And I couldn't even log on to it. And this was on the weekend. I said, well, maybe the system was down or something.
Yeah, I talked with Mary Ann for about a half hour today, because when you go log in, and if you have multiple excise tax, what you used to be able to do is go in, click on your first bill number in, your first one comes up, you add it to your checkout, and then do an additional transaction. And then you put your next bill number in, then you keep going on, so forth, and they're all done, it totals up, it gives you the ability to pay for it by credit card or through your ABA transaction. What, under the new system, it's coming up with a new thing called the unique ID number. And there's no explanation of what that means. And she explained to me today that it's your first full name,
Right.
your middle initial, and your last name. And then you should be able to put your bill number in, and then they should all total up. But there's no explanation on on our website to tell us how to do that. So I'm gonna follow up with her again tomorrow, and I think we need to get that
I think when
clarified.
I was trying, because I had played with it earlier, and I got that piece of it, it wouldn't accept anything. So-
No, and if you would log in before, an old login, I don't think it will work. I think you have to do the whole process over again. So the
So-
people that are trying to pay your excise taxes at home, you can do it individual. It's easy, and it still works, but
I think we need some more instructions.
we're
Yes,
gonna get
Mr.
it out.
Yule?
Yeah, in light of that, I did have some notes here, but I was gonna just share it with him later, but it took me an hour and a half to pay 3 bills. And part of the problem was it took me a while to figure out, what was going on. I'm sure everybody had that issue. But the other thing, I kept getting knocked out as well. When I'd go back, it would, when I hit enter, it would knock me out, and I had to go through the whole process.
When was this?
This was the 20th.
So over the weekend? Or Friday?
I think it was Friday.
Friday.
Thursday, Friday.
Friday.
Yeah,
Friday's the 20th. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was.
Anyway, something to.
Yeah.
I-
So she's
I think
aware of
we
it.
need
You
to
may
get
want to
some
follow
better
up.
I
information
experienced
out.
the same issue as well. We'll make sure that we get the advisory out.
And then lastly, with 20th Century Fox coming to town,
Exciting.
it's, I guess it's a benefit, and then it's also an inconvenience, so.
When we were on the Oscars,
That would be awesome.
when we were on the Oscars, North Reading will be right there.
Oh, yes, okay, yes. The other thing was, I guess it's on the website, and I guess for some reason my notices stopped coming, so I re-signed up about the potential for frozen pipes, frozen water main coming into your home. And there was a recommendation on the website to let your faucet drip to about the rate of 1 gallon an hour. And that message seemed to be important, but is only getting to a few people
Yeah.
that might go to the website. or might have signed up for notification on the website.
Yeah, we didn't even.
If it's
Seems like
that-
that's a
I
code
know,
red
I
to
didn't
me.
get I didn't get an email other than someone, Joe sent it.
Yeah,
Joe,
yeah,
yeah.
right,
You know,
exactly.
But I don't know how he got it, I don't know if
I
it's.
think that's a code red. I think we want to do a reverse 911 on that one.
If
If
it's
it's that
that
serious.
critical, and we're that concerned about it, maybe we should get it out to everybody.
Yeah.
Have
Are you familiar with what we're talking about, Michael?
I am familiar with it, yes, I'm just, yeah, no, I'm familiar with the advisory, having made sure that it got posted. I guess, I don't know what the intention was at the time Code Red was acquired, but I put it into the category of the advisory we put out with regard to the gas meter issue. The advisory, we put another winter advisory out as well, either early last week or late last week. And then I just from the feedback from DPW, put it in the category there.
Okay.
That's why it didn't go out as a code red.
Okay.
Um,
I thought we were actually having this issue. Is this,
There have been two properties that have had the issue, just so that we know the scope of the
Okay.
concern. It's properties where the water service, because of one reason or another, is closer to the surface than it is in other areas, and it's been affected by frost. There was one on Friday, I believe, and then there was another one on Saturday morning, when the weather was real cold. We put the advisory out on Saturday afternoon, in advance of the cold weather, which is settling in again tonight.
Yeah.
Just personally, I'm not sure I would recommend it for code red, but we certainly put it out for the internet, we put it out through town news and announcements, and also on the NORCAM as well to be posted.
Mr. Chair. So, Michael, so that's always been a bone of contention with some communities. Some do it, some don't. Do we assist homeowners who have frozen services?
Yes, we assisted both of the instances I
Okay,
identified,
so we
yes.
defrost their services for all that?
I would verify to make sure that we were the only people that assisted them on it, but I know that we were on site for both cases.
I'm sorry, how does that work? I mean, the pipes going into the house are starting to freeze.
Right, because they're very close to the
Right,
surface.
right. On our property or on their property?
It could be both.
Yeah, it could be both, yeah.
Could be,
Yeah.
could be, if
That's-
it's shallow enough, it could be on city
But we
property.
heat up our side, right? I mean,
Well, we don't heat it.
well, however it works.
Well, there's several different methods.
Yeah.
One method is you have a machine that goes in the basement and it's steam and it goes out as far as the freeze up is. And then the water that's in the pipe is recirculating back into the machine, allowing the steam, more steam. So it'll go as far as it needs to go to
Right.
clear that out. There's other ones where there's a propane tank involved, which I wouldn't recommend because in the early 80s, there was a fire in a house in Chelsea from that, I mean, in Somerville. So there are, depending on where it's located, there's several different methods.
Thank you. Maybe I lose it.
So
Nice.
we actually helped out.
That's what I'm told by the water department, yes. For both on Friday and Saturday. When the cold weather
Yep.
subsided, it hasn't happened since, but it may again happen in the next 24
Very
hours.
fortunate, it's only two.
I wasn't sure of the severity of it. That's why I suggested if it's this severe, that maybe we do have a code red, but it sounds like it's a certain, probably areas in town that are.
There are unique scenarios where
Okay.
the water service is close to the frost line. So again, I didn't mean to alarm people. I know there was a question about the timing of the advisory being sent out.
Yeah, that,
We'll try to improve on that in the future, but we
No.
wanted to get it out before the
I
next.
guess my concern is if you're trying to get a notice out to everybody in town, putting it on the town website doesn't necessarily do it.
Mhm.
And not everybody in town is signed up for notifications on the town website, I'm sure. Because as it turns out, my name wasn't on there.
yeah.
So, what other methods can we use to get the message out? Obviously, it might be in the newspaper.
I put it on the transcript website this morning. I got the email too.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay. So, getting it in patch is good, because a bunch of people,
I think it was in town.
log on.
It wasn't, that's how I learned.
Yeah.
It was on.
Second.
All in favor?
I gotta show you something.